Hey everyone, per your requests, I'm starting Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San. Chapters 781 through 800 of the previous episode. Mei Gongzi and Tang San's bond deepens as they prepare for the Elite Doubles final. Following Tang San's victory in the individual semifinals, he orchestrates a complex plan to aid Mei Gongzi. With the White Tiger Demon Emperor's reluctant support, secured after Tang San demonstrates his godlike power and shares his true identity, Mei Gongzi faces her final trials. She undergoes a dangerous baptism by the ancestral court's will, awakening her phoenix bloodline and mastering the celestial dance with Tang San's guidance. Finally, Tang San successfully resurrects the Peacock Great Demon King into a human vessel, securing his allegiance and setting the stage for humanity's rise. If you're able to, please support me on PayPal to help me stay active. Thank you. Now let's get back to the story of Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San audio series. Chapter 801. It had been a little less than a year since Mei Gongzi ascended to godhood, yet she had already reached such a level. This was nothing short of a miracle. In fact, it was so incredible that even the word miracle didn't quite cover it. When the light flashed again and the spatial fluctuations quietly receded, they found themselves in a luxurious room. Shao He shivered as he realized where he was. Familiar. Everything here was so familiar to him, just as it was when he had left. Nothing had changed. He had once been the ruler here, the true authority. Even when he had to distance himself from his wife for the sake of his plans, she never interfered with his governance over the Peacock Demon clan and all of Kali City. In terms of managing the main city, he believed he had done his best, allowing this remote city to thrive and prosper, matching the bustling and wealthy cities near the ancestral court. Now that he was reborn and back here again, how could he not feel overwhelmed with emotion? In the next moment, a flash of silver light erupted, and two figures appeared almost instantly before them. Little Mei. With a tearful shout, Su Qin rushed forward, tightly embracing Mei Gongzi as tears streamed down her face. Mei Gongzi hugged her mother back, her eyes also filled with tears. She was really home. For the first time in a long while, she felt truly relaxed and at peace, and now that she recalled the perils they had faced in the ancestral court, she felt as if she had lived through several lifetimes. Accompanying Su Qin was the acting city lord, grand elder and queen dowager of the Peacock Demon clan, and the Peacock Great Demon King's consort. She watched Mei Gongzi and Su Qin embrace, her eyes reddening as she muttered, "It's good to have you back, it's good to have you back." As they appeared, Shao He's gaze immediately locked onto the queen dowager in her elegant dress. He was in a daze. What could be more thrilling than seeing his beloved after being reborn? The look in his eyes was exactly like Tang San's when he first encountered Mei Gongzi in the milk tea shop upon his rebirth on the demon continent. The queen consort, a great demon king herself, immediately sensed the strange gaze and instinctively turned her head. She saw a human standing beside Tang San. His eyes filled with an odd expression. When their eyes met, she felt her heart skip a beat for some reason. But this was clearly a stranger, moreover, a human whose aura suggested he was not even cultivating. She turned to Tang San and asked, "Who is this?" Tang San said, "His name is Shao He." Shao He raised his hand, stopping Tang San. Tang San understood. The man wanted to speak for himself. Shao He stepped forward hesitantly, then took another step, closing the distance between him and the Queen Dowager. Her gaze was full of confusion, with hints of wariness and annoyance. Who was this human, and why was he looking at her so brazenly? If he hadn't been brought here by Mei Gongzi and Tang San, she would have been furious. "Qingzhu Qing. It's me." Shao He's voice trembled, and tears streamed uncontrollably down his face. At that moment the queen consort shivered violently, and her eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at him. Her real name was Luo Qing. Within the Peacock Demon clan, there were two major branches, Wang and Luo. The Wang family was stronger right now. The former two clan leaders had that surname. But even though the Luo family was smaller, it was actually the main lineage of the clan. That was because the Peacock Demon Emperor's husband bore the Luo surname, and thus so did her direct descendants. Among the elders of the Peacock Demon clan, a third were from this family. Luo Qingzhu's name was common knowledge only among the elders of the Peacock Demon clan, and normally, not even they dared to address her by name. She used to be referred to as the Queen Consort, and now the Queen Dowager. To be called by her personal name, and in such an odd tone accompanied by such a strange look, caused her to be instantly and profoundly shaken. She stared at Shao He in utter disbelief. "You? Who are you?" Shao He murmured. "I didn't originally have that name, but after marrying you, I changed my name to include the Qing part of your name. You once said that we were like two clear mirrors reflecting each other. Do you remember?" If Luo Qingzhu's name was known to the elders, then the saying two clear mirrors reflecting each other was something only two people could possibly know. In an instant, her beautiful face turned pale, her eyes widened, and she started trembling uncontrollably. On the other side, Su Qin, who was busy reuniting with her daughter, turned her head when she felt the violent shift in atmosphere. She glanced at Shao He, then at Mei Gongzi, her eyes also filled with disbelief. "You?" Luo Qingzhu's voice also trembled. Her divine consciousness scanned Shao He from head to toe, but he was exactly what he seemed to be, a normal human with no trace of peacock demon aura. Although he seemed stronger and healthier than an ordinary human, he was still just a human. Shao He took a deep breath, calming his emotions. "Thank little Mei and Tang San. I found out from Tang San that once I died, he preserved my divine consciousness using a divine artifact. At the ancestral court, they brought me back to life using a human body. They succeeded." Luo Qingzhu instinctively stepped forward, almost instantly arriving in front of Shao He. Looking at the unfamiliar face and those deeply familiar eyes, she was overwhelmed with emotion. Tears burst uncontrollably from her eyes. Su Qin looked at them, then at Mei Gongzi, and asked softly, "Is it really him?" Mei Gongzi nodded gently. "He is." Back when Tang San told Mei Gongzi that he would find a way to revive the Peacock Great Demon King, Su Qin had heard it too. At that time, they all thought it was just a comforting promise. They had never imagined that he would truly achieve it. Shao He looked at the sobbing Luo Qingzhu and lifted his hand, intending to wipe her tears, but Luo Qingzhu instinctively stepped back. After all, the face before her was still too unfamiliar. "I'm sorry." Shao He lowered his hand and said softly, "These years I've made you suffer. Please give us some time to slowly readjust, okay? Whatever you decide, I will respect your choice." Luo Qingzhu just cried, as if she were releasing all the sorrow that had built up in her heart over this time. Su Qin hurried forward, wanting to offer some comfort, but Tang San stopped her. Ever since the Peacock Great Demon King's death, Luo Qingzhu had helped Mei Gongzi manage Kali City, but her heart had always been filled with sorrow. Now that she finally had an outlet, it was best for her to release all that pent-up grief. Letting her cry was the best thing they could do. Tang San signaled to Mei Gongzi and Su Qin, and with a wave of Mei Gongzi's hand, a circle of silver light enveloped the three of them. They silently vanished from the room, reappearing in Su Qin's residence within the city lord's mansion, and leaving that space for Shao He and Luo Qingzhu. Looking at his tear-streaked wife, Shao He's own eyes filled with tears as he spoke softly. "Do you remember when we first met? From the moment I saw you, I felt admiration. You know, I never felt inferior to anyone, but in front of you I felt like a nobody. I don't even know where I got the courage from, but back then I fell deeply in love with you. I secretly vowed in my heart that I would work hard and become strong. In this life, meeting you has been my greatest fortune, so I've always been determined to fulfill the promises I made to you, no matter the cost. Over these 10 years I've wronged you deeply, made you endure so much pain. I know you may find it hard to accept this human body of mine, and no matter what you decide, I won't complain. I just hope that I can see you often in the future. That's all I need. Honestly, my past self did right by the Peacock Demon clan. Even without being an emperor, and even though I lived in constant tension, I held up and I held Kali City. But I did not do right by you. I failed you, and my death left you in sorrow. But now I'm back, free of my past burdens. This human body is fine. At least it comes without the ties of my old identity. It lets me love you with all my heart, without any distractions." Luo Qingzhu looked up at him, her red lips trembling lightly. "Having you back is enough. I don't need anything else." With those words, she could no longer hold back her emotions and suddenly threw herself into Shao He's arms, crying her heart out. Mei Gongzi recounted the events of their trip to the ancestral court to her mother, leaving Su Qin both shaken and astounded. Her gaze frequently fell on Tang San. Before they went to the court, Mei Gongzi hadn't told her mother about the difficulties they would face. Now Su Qin finally understood how dangerous the ordeal had been. And yet they had pulled through. Mei Gongzi had even become a great demon king, and Tang San had ascended to godhood. Mom, don't worry. It's all behind us now, everything is over. We're all back. The hardest part is over and things will get better from here. It's just our settlement. Mei Gongzi's eyes reddened again as she spoke. Whenever she thought of the thousands of fallen people, her heart filled with pain. Su Qin hugged her daughter and sighed. In you both I see the hope for humanity's rise. For a weak race to rise, there will inevitably be sacrifices. Those who chose to stay did so willingly. Their descendants have already been sent overseas and have gained more resources. Now our overseas population has exceeded 500,000. With the support of the Sea clans, they live peacefully and free from oppression. From now on, you mustn't grieve over the sacrifices but use their spirit of sacrifice to motivate our people to a better life. As she spoke, she turned her gaze to Tang San. Little Tang, what do you think? Tang San nodded slightly and said, right now there are two main things that humanity lacks. First is natural ability. We need to develop our own ways to cultivate rather than rely solely on the demonic god transformation. The demonic god transformation is still constrained by the relationship with demons and nymphs, leading to issues like insufficient bloodline purity and difficulties in advancement. Reaching higher realms is extremely challenging. The second is cohesion. Our fellow humans being transported overseas come from all directions, and they're currently struggling just to survive. Once their lives stabilize, it's crucial to find a way to strengthen their unity so they can truly thrive, rather than merely striving for basic survival. So, what are you planning to do? I will be going overseas for a while. One reason is to find a way to awaken human talents. The other is to establish a nation of our own. Only by existing as a nation can humanity truly gain its own cohesion and order, and gradually become strong. Establish a nation? Suyin exclaimed softly. Her eyes were filled with shock, but they quickly brightened. Once upon a time, the idea of having their own nation felt impossibly distant for humanity. Yet, building a country of their own had been a deep wish of countless generations of humans. And now, Tang San had uttered the words "found a nation." How could Su Qin not be moved? Isn't this a bit too hasty? She asked, barely containing her excitement. Of course, there's a lot of preparation to be done before founding a nation. We need to assess the state of our fellow humans and work on unifying them. At the same time, emigration overseas must continue. Establishing a nation is no easy task, and we need to keep striving. But I believe I have some solutions. The nation will be at sea, far from the mainland and beyond the control of the demon continent. With protection from the Sea clans, and as long as we completely cut off information, the ancestral court won't know what's going on. Su Qin nodded in approval. It makes sense. Little Mei has officially become Lord of Kali City, so that makes things a lot easier. We'll be secretly gathering our people from various places and continuing our overseas migration. Once more than a third of our people have relocated and Little Mei becomes an emperor, we will have the capability to protect our kin. Suyin frowned. But becoming an emperor isn't that easy, is it? I heard that the assessment for becoming an emperor is extremely difficult. Especially since Little Mei has a human bloodline, and considering how tough it was for you all this time. Will Celestial Fox and the other demon emperors allow her to ascend smoothly? Tang San smiled faintly and said, when it is time for Little Mei to become an emperor, they won't be able to stop her anymore. It's completely different from her city lord evaluation. Most importantly, by that time I will also have enough power to protect her. And when she becomes an emperor, it will be the moment we officially announce to demons and nymphs that humanity has truly risen. We will make them hesitate to act rashly. Su Qin looked at the confidence in Tang San's eyes and couldn't help but smile. Tang San had helped Mei Gongzi succeed in her evaluation, and he himself had reached godhood. She felt as if he were a great golden rock spreading its wings, soaring to unreachable heights, filled with boundless ambition. His entire aura had transformed. He could achieve what others could not, and he had even turned all the emperors of the ancestral court into mere props during his tribulation. This young man was truly extraordinary. No matter what you do, I will fully support you, Su Qin said with a smile. Mei Gongzi suddenly said, Mom, there are 2 more things I need to tell you. Su Qin turned to look at her. Go ahead. Mei Gongzi glanced at Tang San, then softly continued, Grandfather misses you a lot. When she heard this, the smile on Su Qin's face vanished, and her eyes reddened again. She bit her lip for a moment, then said, I don't have the face to go back and see him. As she spoke, her tears began to fall once more. No, Mom. Grandfather asked me to tell you that everything is in the past. He just wants you to come back to his side. He's old now, and he misses you. Mei Gongzi then recounted the White Tiger Demon Emperor's state and his words at the time. Upon hearing Mei Gongzi's words, Su Qin was already sobbing uncontrollably and nodded repeatedly. I'll go back. I'll get ready to leave right away. Seeing her mother agree, Mei Gongzi held her hand gently and said, Stay with me for a few more days before you leave. I haven't seen you in so long. I miss you too. Watching the mother and daughter embrace and cry, Tang San cleared his throat softly and said, Hey, don't forget about the teleportation array. Meeting isn't that hard. It'll only take a few minutes to get you there. You can see each other whenever. Mei Gongzi was momentarily stunned, then she chuckled. Right? Even though the White Tiger Palace was a few days away under normal circumstances, with the teleportation array, it was nothing more than a walk through her own backyard. If she wanted to return to the White Tiger Palace, she could do that any time. Tang San then continued, Tell her the other thing. Mei Gongzi glanced at him, then at her mother, whose eyes were misted with tears, feeling a bit hesitant. What's wrong, little Mei? Su Qin asked, noticing her expression. For some reason, she suddenly felt nervous. Mei Gongzi said, Mom, I met the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor. Su Qin's expression changed instantly. What does he want? You know about? Tang San nodded. After little Mei's evaluation, I told her everything. She had to know. Actually, the fact that she was able to pass is due to Lin Shima. Not only did he support little Mei himself, but he also persuaded the Undying Demon Emperor. Little Mei was able to pass the second round smoothly because they officially approved it. Su Qin remained silent, not saying a word. Tang San continued, Later, while little Mei was staying at the ancestral court for further studies, Lin Shima and the Undying Demon Emperor came to find her together. Su Qin was taken aback. From the way he acted, I could tell that he cares a great deal about little Mei and wants to make amends. As I expected, he proposed that she should awaken her phoenix bloodline. Your father was also present at the time, and he imposed a condition that when little Mei undergoes the evaluation to become an emperor in the future, even if she still possesses human bloodline, they must unconditionally support her. And they actually agreed. So with that, they decided to help little Mei awaken her phoenix bloodline on the spot. This decision was purely beneficial for her, so we just went with it. But it wasn't the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor's bloodline that awakened. It was the Undying Demon Emperor himself who infused the Immortal Flame Phoenix blood essence into little Mei. She now has the Immortal Flame Phoenix bloodline, which comes with the innate ability of Nirvana rebirth. This will greatly ensure her safety in the future. Su Qin seemed a bit dazed and remained silent.
Mom, I'm sorry.
Mei Gongzi said anxiously. Su Qin shook her head and said, This is a good thing for you. No matter how much I hate him, as long as it's good for you, I won't refuse. You did nothing wrong. He is, after all, your biological father. Whatever wrong he did, it was to me. He did not know about you at the time, and you don't need to hate him. Mom, you. Mei Gongzi wanted to ask something but couldn't bring herself to say it. Tang San did it for her. It's clear that Lin Shima deeply regrets what happened back then. Are you sure you won't give him a second chance? He wasn't defending the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor. He was just sharing his genuine feelings. After all, the man was Mei Gongzi's biological father in this life, and just as Su Qin had admitted, he hadn't been aware of Mei Gongzi's existence. Otherwise, things might have played out completely differently. Su Qin shook her head. The matters between him and me are none of your concern. I will handle it. Little May, he is still your biological father. If you want to acknowledge him, I won't object. I believe he will be good to you. Having one more person love you will only make me happy. But please understand my feelings. I will never be able to forgive him. As far as I am concerned, we are strangers to each other. With you here, I can even let go of my hatred toward him, but anything beyond that is impossible. Her tone was calm, but within that calmness lay a resolute determination. She had endured far too many hardships. In her most painful moments, she could only face them alone. If not for meeting the Peacock Great Demon King, she would have perished with her unborn child. How could she not hate Lin Shima for abandoning her back then? For Lin Shima, becoming an emperor for the sake of his clan was not wrong, but abandoning her and forcing her to secretly flee while pregnant to avoid being discovered by her own father, leading to a near-tragic outcome, was something she could never forget. Mei Gongzi gently hugged her mother without saying anything. She had no emotional attachment to Lin Shima. As long as her mother was not sad, she was content. Su Qin touched her daughter's pretty face and said softly, "You can't take risks anymore. I am a saintess of the Redemption Society, and of course I hope you can truly help redeem humanity. But I am also a mother, and as a mother, I only wish for my child's safety and happiness. The same goes for you, little Tang." "Thank you, Aunt Su." Tang San nodded slightly and said, "Don't worry, I will protect little May. From now on, I will always be here for her. Even if I'm away every now and then, I will always be there to protect her when she needs it." "Are you planning to make your relationship public?" Upon hearing this, Mei Gongzi's face flushed red. "What? What relationship are we making public?" Tang San shook his head and said, "She has just officially become the city lord. It's not the right moment to make our relationship public. Besides, Azura is dead. The ancestral court doesn't know I'm still around, and they must not find out. For now, I am just little May's personal guard, and that's enough. As for making things public, we'll talk about that when she becomes an emperor."
Sui nodded.
"It's up to you to decide. Now that you're back, you'll surely be busy again." Tang San said, "Whenever you're ready to see His Majesty the White Tiger, just let me know, and I'll transport you there." Su Qin took a deep breath and said, "I'll stay with little May for 3 days, then I'll go. I don't want him to wait any longer. When you have time, come and visit us." The news of Mei Gongzi's return to Kali City was immediately released by the Peacock Demon clan. She had successfully completed her report and officially took on the role of Kali City Lord and leader of the Peacock Demon clan. As the ruler of a main city and the leader of a first-tier clan, she had truly become a prominent figure on the Demon continent. At the same time, for the ancestral court, another significant event was unfolding recently. The battle for a main city was no longer centered on Kali City. It was now focused on the most important main city, and the closest one to the ancestral court, Crystal City. It was technically under the control of the Crystal Demon Emperor. Though she had no business managing the city, and neither did she have any descendants to do it for her, she was the Dragon Lord of her generation, and nobody dared to say anything about it. Thus, Crystal City had always been managed by the entire dragon race. Now that the Crystal Demon Emperor had fallen, the only remaining emperor among dragons was the Tenebrous Demon Emperor. However, he ranked relatively low among the demon emperors and had his own main city to manage, so it was impossible for him to take charge of Crystal City. Therefore, the ownership of this incredibly wealthy and strategically important main city had become the focal issue within the ancestral court. More importantly, it was not just the Empyrean Dominion that was in turmoil. Even the Solstice Empire was looking to get involved. After all, with the fall of the Crystal Demon Emperor, the power gap between the two major powers has significantly narrowed. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor was busy repairing the Celestial Fox Sacred Mountain, and according to his wishes, the official decision was put on hold for the time being. However, the covert struggle had already begun. Such a crucial city could not be without an emperor. And there were two emperors without a main city, the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor and the Sword Saint Demon Emperor. Unfortunately, neither of them was strong enough or commanded sufficient authority to be put in charge of Crystal City. Nymphs aside, the strongest emperor was the Undying Demon Emperor. But although the dragon and phoenix races maintained a relatively good relationship and even often intermarried, when it came to matters of race supremacy, they were ultimately rivals. And although the dragon race only had one emperor left, their strength below that level remained intact. The tenebrous demon emperor was prepared to take on the role of dragon lord, and the dragon race was determined to defend Crystal City to the death. That much was obvious. Why would they be willing to relinquish it? The Crystal Demon Emperor had ruled practically the entire continent for millennia, and the dragon race had always prided itself as the foremost race of the Empyrean Dominion, boasting numerous powerful great demon kings and producing emperor after emperor. Even if the ancestral court wished to reclaim control over Crystal City, it first had to consider the dragon race's stance. And the problem was compounded by the fact that the city was technically part of the Empyrean Dominion, which naturally wanted to ensure that the Solstice Empire did not gain a foothold there. As a result, the situation turned into a deadlock with no concrete resolution in sight. This was the foremost issue the ancestral court had to deal with, and it was clear that resolving it would take some time. As a result, no one had the capacity to pay attention to Kali City for the time being. After learning about these developments, Tang San and Mei Gongzi agreed that Luo Qingzhu would continue to oversee Kali City, with the public explanation that Mei Gongzi was in seclusion. Tang San then took her overseas to inspect the current state of human migration. Meanwhile, Su Qin headed to the ancestral court to meet her father. While there, she would contact the Redemption Society and quietly facilitate the continued movement of humans toward Kali City, which would then allow for gradually relocating more people overseas. The method was simple: purchasing slaves through merchant caravans, while avoiding the ancestral court's detection as much as possible. The purchases would be spread out, even extending to the Solstice Empire. After all, the trade of human slaves had always been common practice. More importantly, the slaves wouldn't be transported back to Kali City by the caravans, but would first be settled in various gathering points across the demon continent. Once the numbers reached a certain threshold, Tang San would personally go and set up large teleportation arrays, shifting them directly to Kali City and then immediately taking them out to sea. This way, no matter how much the ancestral court monitored them, they wouldn't know where these humans had gone. Previously, Tang San couldn't have managed such large-scale mass teleportation. However, with his breakthrough to godhood and the refining of the Spacetime Lighthouse as his second life-bound divine artifact, this had become possible. The Spacetime Lighthouse would grow alongside Tang San, and it would allow him to do more and more as time passed. Su Qin would handle the coordination with the Redemption Society, while Tang San remained hidden in the shadows, not revealing himself even within the society. After all, Mei Gongzi, Su Qin, and Zhang Haoshuan were now high-ranking members of the Redemption Society. Especially after Mei Gongzi was officially appointed Lord of Kali City, she had now become the most powerful figure within the society. Naturally, the society respected her commands greatly. At the same time, the ongoing human migration overseas was credited to Mei Gongzi, and only a few from the old Redemption Academy were even aware of how much Tang San was doing. After arranging these matters, Tang San first teleported Su Qin to the White Tiger Hotel. When the White Tiger Demon Emperor arrived and reunited with his daughter, Tang San quickly teleported away. After all, watching his future mother-in-law lose her composure in front of her father would have been quite awkward. With a flash of silver light, Tang San appeared in the large room where the city lord of Kali City resided. Mei Gongzi had been waiting in the room for him. When she saw him return, she hurried forward and asked, "So, did my mom and grandfather meet?" Tang San nodded and said, "I left right after the White Tiger Demon Emperor arrived, so don't worry. They are father and daughter after all. The problems between them only existed as long as they were apart. Once they saw each other again, everything changed. I left as soon as I saw your mom rush into your grandfather's arms. I didn't stick around to watch the rest. No need to make her feel awkward." Mei Gongzi sighed in relief. "That's wonderful. This was one of my mom's biggest unresolved issues. I'm so happy she's reconciled with my grandfather. Over the years, my mom has never really been happy. She brightens up when she's with me, but I've always known that deep down, she was never truly at peace. One reason was her guilt and longing for my grandfather, and the other is..." She paused briefly before finishing her thought. "I always thought my mom's pain was because of her troubled relationship with my adoptive father, which is why I held a grudge against him. But now I understand. It wasn't because of my adoptive father, but because of the other one." Tang San sighed and said, "Let your parents handle their own issues. Your mom's resentment toward Lin Shima won't be easily resolved, but now that she's at the ancestral court and he knows the whole truth, they are not as far apart as they used to be. If Lin Shima truly cares, he will find a way to mend that rift. No matter what, they have a child, and that connection remains. Hopefully, it can be mended in the future." Mei Gongzi nodded gently and said, "I'll support my mom no matter what she chooses. So should we get going now? To the islands?" Tang San smiled and nodded, pulling her toward him and embracing her. "Let's go. Let me show you your husband's world." Before Mei Gongzi could protest his choice of words, space around them began to distort, and a silver halo enveloped them. In the next instant, Mei Gongzi could already smell the scent of the sea. When Tang San and Mei Gongzi reappeared, they saw the shores of Crescent Island. The gentle sea breeze blew in, carrying the unique scent of the sea. Breathing in the salty air, Tang San felt as if every pore in his body was opening up. This was his domain. Cultivating within the vastness of the sea was the best place for him. Here he could fully unleash his divine power, blessing all beings. With his presence as a deity, he could bring divine blessings to the entire sea, benefiting all marine life and the ecosystem. In turn, all sea creatures would offer him the power of faith. If within the ancestral court he could only flee from emperors, then on the sea, even against an emperor, he could stand his ground. For he was the sea god. Tang San held Mei Gongzi's hand, gazing out at the endless sea, and softly said, "I'm back." Mei Gongzi turned her head to look at him, and suddenly, it was as if she saw a radiant glow emanating from Tang San. It was an illusory light, not of any particular color, but in that moment, his entire being appeared illuminated. In the next instant, the entire sea seemed to brighten, and Tang San seemed to turn into the most central point of the sea. The once turbulent waves calmed significantly, leaving only gentle ripples. The light radiating from Tang San spread in all directions, becoming more and more brilliant by the second. At that moment, even the sun in the sky seemed dim in comparison. It was at this precise moment that Mei Gongzi understood what Tang San meant by his world. The man beside her hadn't changed, yet he suddenly seemed to stand tall, connecting heaven and earth. The vast, awe-inspiring sea appeared to be a part of him. Everything her eyes could see, everything her divine consciousness could sense, was filled with his aura. The sea god had returned. Blessed are all beings. Tang San slowly closed his eyes, and on his forehead, the golden trident mark lit up. In that moment, a massive golden light silhouette rose from behind him, transforming into the towering figure of the sea god. The sky turned golden, and the sea became crystal clear as the sea god's aura surged. The sea god's aura spread far and wide, and all sea creatures that sensed this presence immediately turned and bowed in reverence toward Crescent Island. Where the sea god resides, blessings abound. Tang San held Mei Gongzi's hand with his left hand and raised his right. The radiant sea god's trident appeared in his grasp, and his voice, though calm and composed, was filled with an extraordinary aura. Today the sea god descends and vows that he will defend his domain. Today the sea god is here, and bestows his blessing upon all living beings. Today the sea god commands, "Endless blue, be free of all taint." As soon as he spoke, the golden trident mark on his forehead erupted with boundless radiance. The sea god's trident in his hand shot forth a beam of golden light that pierced the now golden sky. Thousands of rays of light shot down into the endless blue sea like golden hail. Subtly and imperceptibly, the sea began to undergo some wondrous transformations. Novel lunar logo. Novel lunar. Home. Browse. Genres. Search novels.
Lock-in. Novelunar logo.
Novel lunar. Home. Latest updates. New novels. Completed. Hunking. Genres.
Lock-in.
/ Soul Land 5. The Rebirth of Tang San. / Chapter 805. Chapter 805. October 30th, 2025. Previous. 805. / 1101. Next. Novel AI Studio explore our top 10,000 plus free novels. Although Tang San had not yet returned to his former God King level, after passing through the 9 heavens 10 earths divine extinguishing tribulation, he had regained his status as a true deity. While he still wasn't strong enough to make full use of his original combat abilities, he could unleash unimaginable divine might while he was within his own domain. He thus used his divine power to bless the entire endless blue sea. Though his cultivation level did not allow him to illuminate the entire sea all at once, the sea god's blessing would gradually spread through the waters, reaching the entire endless blue sea. Tang San had limited time during his last visit and couldn't complete this step. But now he was back and he was set on doing things the right way. With this grand vow, he announced to all living beings of the endless blue sea that their god had descended. The endless blue sea now had a protector. Every sea creature that sensed the golden blessing light immediately emerged from the water, bowing in reverence toward Tang San. They were overwhelmed with excitement as they felt the divine light descend upon them. They felt happiness and safety from the depths of their hearts. The endless blue sea finally had a leader, as well as its own fortune. Countless streams of faith surged toward Crescent Island, flooding into Tang San's body, strengthening his divine consciousness and allowing the golden blessing light to shine even brighter. At the ancestral court, in the Celestial Fox Palace, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor sat cross-legged within a massive white light array. Behind him, the nine-tailed Celestial Fox manifestation appeared almost tangible, and its 9 large tails swayed gracefully. White light continuously flowed in from all directions, converging into the light array beneath him. Since Tang San's tribulation had depleted nearly half of his fortune, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had been in seclusion. Although the Crystal City issue was crucial, he couldn't afford to focus on it now. Nothing was more important than consolidating the fortune. The impact of the lightning tribulation was not something that could be shrugged off just like that. It had destabilized not only the Celestial Fox Sacred Mountain, but the fortune of the ancestral court itself. He had to stabilize the fortune here and reabsorb the fortune of the entire plane to replenish it. This wasn't just about the Celestial Fox clan. If the Celestial Foxes lost this fortune, all demons and nymphs would suffer. After several months of effort, the great array beneath the Celestial Fox Palace was finally stabilized and had resumed absorbing fortune. However, restoring it to its former state was a different matter altogether. Even if the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor gave his all, it would take centuries to gather such a vast amount of fortune once more. He simply did not have that lifespan. And there was also another very important issue at hand: the next emperor. The fall of the Crystal Demon Emperor had decisively impacted the fortune of the demon and nymph clans. All emperors on Phelan Planet were exclusively from the demon continent, and the limit imposed by the plane meant that no other emperors could possibly arise elsewhere. However, the death of the Crystal Demon Emperor left a gap between the existing emperors and that glass ceiling. In fact, the gap was so massive that, should a creature outside the demon continent be prepared for it, an emperor might in fact emerge outside the demon continent for the first time in who knew how many millennia. It was entirely possible. This was why the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor was so determined to consolidate fortune and to do it now. Moreover, he had a clear purpose in mind when he no longer obstructed Mei Gongxi's report, but instead went with the White Tiger Demon Emperor to destroy the human settlement. Mei Gongxi's talent was evident to these emperors. She was destined to become an emperor in the future. As long as she cultivated and developed normally, the narrow and thorny path toward becoming an emperor was more like an open highway for her. With the fall of the Crystal Demon Emperor, it was crucial for the demon continent to obtain a new emperor. While other emperors could use this opportunity to enhance their cultivation, the vacant position still needed to be filled. Since Mei Gongxi was heading in the right direction and her speed was most likely unprecedented in history, it made sense to invest in her. However, her human side needed to be addressed. Destroying the human settlement was meant to leave her with no way around, forcing her to fully commit to being a demon emperor rather than whatever human emperor. This was the reason behind the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's actions. He also ensured that the message was transmitted clearly through the White Tiger Demon Emperor. And once that was out of the way, he was able to go into seclusion and focus on gathering fortune. But as he sat there at the center of the array, his brow furrowed and he opened his eyes. He clearly felt that the fortune continuously gathering toward him had thinned significantly. All of a sudden, the streams of fortune that had been converging toward him were noticeably becoming thinner. As one of the most powerful emperors of his time and the master of destiny, he could clearly sense when something within his domain of authority was going awry. And right now, the speed at which fortune was consolidating was slowing significantly so. It was as if something or someone was contending with him for this fortune, but he was absolutely confident that in terms of fortune, he was the strongest existence in the world. Why was this happening? The 9 tails of the celestial fox manifestation behind the celestial fox demon emperor stood erect simultaneously. A ring of pure white light expanded around him. Then the 9 tails spread out with incomparable brilliance, and as the white light halo expanded, his aura changed significantly. In that moment he seemed to become the center of the world. The fortune that had been thinning suddenly became dense again. However, this intensity only lasted for a brief moment. Suddenly, the streams of white light disintegrated, turning into thin mist-like strands that scattered in all directions. The celestial fox demon emperor grunted, opening his eyes to reveal a hint of shock. He had just used his most powerful ability to gather fortune, yet he had failed. Although he had indeed managed to amass a significant amount of fortune in an instant, it could not be sustained. Unlike before, it did not continue to flow endlessly. How could this happen? I've never seen anything in my entire life. Whether for himself, the Celestial Fox clan, or even the Ancestral Court, this was definitely not good news. It meant that the speed at which the Ancestral Court gathered fortune had significantly slowed down. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor sat there in shock for a few moments, but then he pulled himself back together. He swiftly analyzed the reason behind this situation. Soon he came to a conclusion. There was no other possibility. The only entity in this plane capable of contending with him for fortune was the plane itself. During that incredible tribulation, the Crystal Demon Emperor attempted to bribe the planar ruler with the lotus seeds in an effort to survive the tribulation. Although she eventually failed by that time, she had still supplied the planar ruler with a substantial amount of fortune. Perhaps it was at that moment that he had become the direct target of the planar ruler. Was this a warning to stop him from gathering more fortune for demons and nymphs? Was this an attempt at preventing too much misfortune from befalling regions outside the demon continent, thereby protecting the balance of the plane? This is it. This is definitely it. A warning issued by the planar ruler. The realization made the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's expression grow increasingly grim. He was well aware that the true ruler of the demon continent was not whatever demon or nymph emperor, but the planar ruler itself. As the leader of the Celestial Fox clan and the current Celestial Fox Demon Emperor, his most critical task was to seize the plane's fortune and bestow blessings upon demons and nymphs. This was why he held such a revered position within the Ancestral Court. But the fact that he had to seize the fortune meant that the fortune did not belong to him. He had never been the owner of it. And now things were taking a drastic turn. What would it mean if he lost the ability to gather fortune from the plane? It would inevitably lead to the demise of the Celestial Fox clan. Without the ability to accumulate more fortune, they could only maintain the status quo. While he was still around, things could hold together. But once he fell, and that was not far in the future, could the Celestial Fox clan even produce another emperor? If the plane could prevent him from absorbing fortune, even though he was already an emperor, it could most certainly prevent a far weaker Celestial Fox Great Demon King from becoming an emperor. The consequences were clear as daylight. The Celestial Fox clan lacked combat power, so they could not even defend themselves. Their bloodline power would still work on some level, but without an emperor, and consequently without the ability to gather massive amounts of fortune for the Ancestral Court, marginalization was inevitable. This would lead the clan into a vicious cycle of decline, and they would weaken until eventual extinction. Thinking of this, cold sweat broke out on the back of the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. No, this could not be allowed to happen. He had to fight against the plane while he still could. This concerned the future of the Celestial Fox clan, and that was not something he could compromise on. Since the plane wouldn't let him absorb the power of fortune, he would have to take matters into his own hands. "Someone come!" The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor called out in a deep voice, and the fox projection behind him quickly merged into his body. A few moments later, a tall, middle-aged man entered and respectfully said, "Heavenly Lord, you called?" Heavenly Lord was the title used within the Celestial Fox clan for the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. The celestial fox demon emperor said in a deep tone. Go and invite the sky-splitting demon emperor over. Tell him I have something important to discuss. His subordinate quickly left. The celestial fox demon emperor fell into deep thought again, pondering how to wrest the power of fortune from the plane. The straightforward first step was to gather all those who had reached the limits of power on the demon continent, the emperors. By mobilizing all the emperors of the ancestral court, he would be able to challenge the power of the plane and extract its fortune. Even though the planar ruler had control of the entire plane, at the level of an emperor, one could somewhat break free from that control. If the plane continued to deny him the chance to reconsolidate his power of fortune, he would have no choice but to unleash the ancestral court's strongest forces to sweep across the planet, bringing disaster to all beings outside the demon continent. The ensuing loss of life, a manifestation of misfortune, would naturally free up a corresponding amount of fortune, which he would be able to seize and pour back into the celestial fox sacred mountain. Once a sufficient amount of fortune was gathered, not even the planar ruler could do anything to him. Endless Blue Sea Crescent Island. By this point, Tang San had turned completely golden, resembling a proud golden statue. Countless rays of golden light flowed into the endless blue sea, and on the sea's surface, sea beasts were densely packed, all bowing in his direction. The expansion of the sea god's blessing had already been pouring down for 3 days. The golden hue on Tang San's body was neither his bloodline power nor the aura of his divine seat, but a visible manifestation of the massive amount of faith energy converging into him. The endless blue sea, after all, was countless times larger than the demon continent. Although frequent bouts of sea plague caused the population of marine creatures to decline, their sheer numbers were still staggering. The faith energy thus exuded by these myriad beings gathered into Tang San, continuously elevating his divine consciousness. In just these 3 short days, his divine consciousness had reached a level corresponding to the 11th order. After all, faith was the purest form of mental energy, and it provided unimaginable nourishment to his divine consciousness. Tang San's divine consciousness originated from his previous life as a god king, and its quality was beyond even that of an emperor. This allowed him to absorb practically endless amounts of faith energy with no barrier preventing a breakthrough. As he absorbed this vast energy, he entered a wondrous state. His sea of consciousness was accumulating energy, transforming it into divine consciousness, compressing it, then accumulating some more. At the same time, he could channel even more divine blessings back into the endless blue sea. It was a perfect circle. Mei Gongzi stayed by his side the whole time. Although she couldn't feel the power of faith, she could sense the Azura sword in her sea of consciousness vibrating with excitement. In these 3 short days, the Azura sword seed had become noticeably more solid, leading Mei Gongzi's divine consciousness to grow alongside it. The fact that she could just sit there doing nothing and still advance in cultivation caused her immense shock. But what stunned her even more was the sight of all the sea beasts on the sea bowing devoutly toward Tang San. In fact, the surface of the sea was almost entirely obscured by the masses of sea creatures. It was unimaginable how many had gathered in this area. They all wanted to bathe in the blessings of the sea god. The sea god's trident in Tang San's hand was even more solid than Mei Gongzi's Azura sword. It was, after all, the symbol of the sea god's authority and was directly impacted by the faith energy here. Tang San could clearly sense the actual sea god's trident rapidly approaching this plane. It wouldn't be long before it truly arrived. And at that moment it would be the time when he and Mei Gongzi could leave this place and return to their former world. Tang San exhaled a long breath as the golden light around him slowly dimmed. The golden hue in the sky also gradually faded, revealing the clear blue sky once more. The sky was spotless without a single cloud. All the sea beasts floating on the surface of the endless blue sea bowed deeply to Tang San before diving back into the depths. At the same time, a few figures swiftly approached the shore, stopping 100 meters away from Tang San and bowing in unison. They were the leaders of various powerful sea clans, all great sea kings or peak-level sea kings. The Sea Dragon King, Sea Giant Middle Pillar King, Mermaid Queen, Sea Shark King, Sea Leopard King, Sea Walrus King, Sea Turtle King, Sea Dolphin King, and many others had all arrived over the past 3 days. At this moment, they no longer harbored any doubts about Tang San's identity as the sea god. They even felt that the invisible power suppressing the endless blue sea seemed to have decreased, and this let them see the possibility of further advancement. "Rise, everyone. Let's talk on the island," Tang San said, letting the sea god's trident dissipate into thin air. Only then did the sea kings rise, each transforming into human form and coming ashore. They approached Tang San and respectfully saluted him once more. The sea giant middle pillar king stood further back, his face showing a hint of shame, hesitating to step forward. Tang San said, "Not long ago, I successfully passed my tribulation, and my divinity was restored. In the future, the endless blue sea will no longer suffer from the sea plague, and this blessing will endure forever." Some things have also occurred on the demon continent. The fortune that the Celestial Fox clan had gathered for the continent was dispersed by me, nearly half of it. So you all should have felt that misfortune has decreased and luck has increased. This is the effect of the plane dispersing the reclaimed fortune throughout Phelan planet. Due to this, I was able to summon the manifestation of the sea god and secure a portion of this fortune for the endless blue sea, bestowing blessings upon the sea and at the same time preventing the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor from seizing it. With this fortune, the creatures of the endless blue sea will thrive and, I'm sure you felt it, all of you have a chance to advance further. But I am certain that the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor will try to reconsolidate the fortune by any means necessary. My cultivation right now is not enough to counter him, so you must inform all of your kinsmen, as well as all the other sea beasts, to focus on cultivating as much as possible, as fast as possible. Every bit of strength that you accumulate here will lock down an equivalent amount of fortune. That is something that the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor cannot take away. Unless... Tang San suddenly stopped and furrowed his brow. Unless? What? The Sea Shark King felt that his relationship with Tang San was pretty good, so he was confident enough to ask this. Tang San replied solemnly, unless he kills those who accumulated it. Unless he resorts to relentless slaughter against the living beings beyond the shores of the demon continent. The endless blue sea surrounds the continent. If the emperors of the ancestral court unleash their power without restraint, then our sea clans will undoubtedly be the first to suffer. Upon hearing Tang San's words, the Sea Dragon King said gravely, Sea God, there's no need to worry about that. We're not afraid of them. The endless blue sea is vast, with depths reaching tens of thousands of meters. Even emperors dare not venture deep into the sea to battle us. This is our domain, and if it comes to fighting in the sea, those emperors cannot truly exert their powers, while we are much stronger than we would be on land. Tang San nodded. I'll find a way to deal with this. If they really dare to go that far, then we might have no choice but to slay emperors at sea. As he spoke, cold killing intent flickered in his eyes. The deaths of close to 5,000 of his kin had left rage within him that had never been vented. If the ancestral court dared to venture into the sea in the future, he would teach those emperors a harsh lesson. He would let the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor know that the sea was inviolable and humans were not to be touched. The human settlements overseas were beginning to take shape. If the emperors of the ancestral court decided to target those outside the continent, they would undoubtedly be the first in line, and there would be no place for them to retreat. However, the ancestral court couldn't decide to wage war against the creatures of the endless blue sea on a whim. To turn utterly hostile against the sea beasts could also be disastrous for the demon continent. The sea beasts were vast in number, after all, and although their top-tier strength was inferior to demons and nymphs, the demon continent was incredibly expansive, with countless kilometers of coastline. No number of emperors could guard every single stretch of shore for every single moment, and the retaliation of the sea beasts would undoubtedly be cataclysmic. At the same time, Mei Gongzi was now the ruler of Kali City, and if any disturbances occurred within the ancestral court, they would know immediately thanks to her father and grandfather. As for Tang San himself, all he needed was a little more time. As soon as his cultivation reached the appropriate level, he would be able to do whatever he wanted, emperors be damned. We will follow your orders in all things, Sea God, the Sea Dragon King said respectfully to Tang San. Tang San nodded and said, the ancestral court will not easily start a conflict with the endless blue sea. The strongest emperor of the ancestral court has recently fallen, and the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor cannot monopolize power. I will remain on Crescent Island for a while to continue blessing the endless blue sea. You should all return and convey my message to your clans. urging everyone to intensify their cultivation. There are also a few matters I need your assistance with. Please give your orders, Sea God. The Sea King said in unison, bowing. I intend to establish a nation for humans and create a governmental system to facilitate better development. However, the islands are rather scattered, which causes communication issues among humans. You are all rulers of the endless blue sea. Do you have any suggestions? Although many islands and some archipelagos were within the endless blue sea, the number of human immigrants would only continue to grow. When the number of immigrants reached a certain level, expansion to more islands would become necessary, leading to greater dispersion. The purpose of a nation was to maintain unified governance, but how could it manage if it were too scattered? Connecting everything through teleportation arrays was also inconvenient, especially without Tang San's presence, as teleportation required significant resources. The Middle Pillar King, who had remained silent, stepped forward. Sea God, I have a suggestion. The islands within the endless blue sea cannot be moved. It would significantly disrupt the environment both on the islands and in the sea around them, so it's impossible to pull the islands together. But there are ways to bridge them. Bridge the islands? How would that work? Tang San asked. Even as the sea god, he had no way to connect the islands, given that the sea was far from calm. He couldn't just build a bridge or create a mass of land out of thin air or thin water, as it were. The Middle Pillar King replied solemnly, when my clan members perish, their bodies return to the sea and transform into giant pillars, known as sea pillars, which are numerous in our ancestral land. Wherever these sea pillars are, there also grows a treasure plant called the sea sky tree. We call it that way because we believe it connects the sea and the sky. These sea sky trees can grow from the sea floor up to 1,000 meters tall, and with a diameter reaching 100 meters, making them the largest plants in the sea. They also have a unique ability of keeping the sea calm in their vicinity. Wherever they grow, there are never any great waves, even in stormy weather. Our clan can bring some sea sky trees here and replant them between the islands. The sea sky tree crowns will connect on the surface of the sea and form bridges between the islands. In fact, we can even use them as pillars for larger platforms, and basically create more land on top of the sea. When needed, these sea sky trees can retract beneath the sea and stay concealed, which I think might be very helpful when dealing with the emperors on the continent. Hearing this, Tang San couldn't help but feel intrigued. There was nothing like that in his previous world. Are these trees sentient? Can they cultivate? The Middle Pillar King nodded. They do. We consider the sea sky trees the guardians of our sea giant clan, coexisting with the sea pillars formed by our deceased in a symbiotic relationship. The tree itself gathers spiritual energy of heaven and earth from the sea, so our clan cultivates beside the sea sky trees, and after death we transform into sea pillars so we can give back to the trees. The possibility was genuinely enticing. Tang San nodded and said, if that's the case, I would like to meet them. Please, Middle Pillar King, if you could make the introductions for me, that would be great. Then I would trouble you to pay a visit to the Sea Sky Tree King. After all, it would be rather difficult for it to come here instead. Moreover, if you want to actually set up a large territory here, then that would require the entire Sea Sky Tree clan to move over, and our clan would have to migrate with them. There's no rush for migration. I will visit this Sea Sky Tree clan and see with my own eyes what kind of beings they are, and then we can work out a plan that satisfies everyone. The Middle Pillar King had undoubtedly given Tang San a brand new perspective. Although he was the sea god, he was only really familiar with his own plane, and every sea on every planet had its own peculiarities. At the very least, the sea of this planet had many things different from what he knew. Every new species brought new possibilities. Human migration overseas was essential. After all, Tang San wasn't just considering humanity's current situation, but also what they should do once he and Mei Gongzi left Phelan Planet in the future. Since he had promised the planar ruler that he would leave once he became a god king once more, then he could not and would not continue to interfere with the plane after that. And staying at the emperor level was obviously not going to happen. Therefore, he was now focused on laying out plans for humanity, ensuring that they could continue to develop and grow in the future, and ultimately establish a foundation that would allow them to stand on equal footing with demons and nymphs. After briefly considering the matter, Tang San said, I will stay on Crescent Island for a while longer to continue with the blessings. Middle Pillar King, Please return and discuss our idea with the Sea Sky Tree King. In 5 days, I will visit your settlement and discuss the specifics with it." The Middle Pillar King nodded. "As you wish, Sea God." For the next few days, Tang San stayed on Crescent Island. He didn't have time to communicate with the human immigrants but instead continuously channeled his power into the sea, blessing it. This was essentially the sea god communicating with his domain and reinforcing the authority of his divine seat. This was crucial. By rooting himself in the endless blue sea, he could influence the sea's long-term development, consolidating fortune for it and for himself. Humans moved to the islands of the endless blue sea, and this brought fortune for the sea. This made things better for the sea beasts, which in turn were friendlier toward humans with every day that passed. At the same time, Tang San was bestowing fortune upon the sea beasts and received faith energy in return, which was the perfect way for him to cultivate. This was his foundation, the best way for him to eventually return to the God King level. It took a total of 8 days for Tang San's will to fully spread out into the sea. Going forward, it would simply take time for the entire endless blue sea to feel this will and attune itself to it. The more powerful the sea beasts, the clearer they could feel it. After Tang San used his sea god power, the entire endless blue sea started changing. It was a miraculous purification, cleansing all that was bad and consolidating all that was good. It was as if the endless blue sea's attunement to the fundamental laws of the plane had been reinforced, allowing all beings cultivating within to feel the love of the plane. Of course, due to the vast number of sea beasts in the endless blue sea, it would still take a very, very long time for a comprehensive increase in cultivation. But it was precisely for that reason that it was best to start right away and not waste time. 5 days later, the Middle Pillar King personally returned to Crescent Island to wait for Tang San. Tang San met with him after finishing his meditation. "Middle Pillar King, what did the Sea Sky Tree King say?" The Middle Pillar King replied solemnly. I explained the general situation to him. "First, the Sea Sky Tree King has great respect for you, and he can already feel the blessings you've brought to the entire endless blue sea. However, he is still somewhat hesitant because relocating an entire clan, especially one like theirs, involves many considerations." Tang San nodded and said, "I understand and we won't force it. How about this? I'll go with you to see the situation firsthand. We also need to evaluate whether the Sea Sky Tree clan and your Sea Giant clan can migrate in a reasonable manner and adapt to the environment here. This is the most important factor. If helping humanity comes at the cost of harming your two clans, that's not the outcome I want to see." The Middle Pillar King's eyes showed even more respect as he bowed to Tang San again and said, "Thank you for your understanding. Let's go then. Little Mei, come with me." Mei Gongzi had been cultivating alongside Tang San these past few days. Although she couldn't absorb faith energy, the faith energy that Tang San received was mostly enhancing his divine consciousness. His divine consciousness was connected to the Azura sword, so it nurtured the sword, which in turn boosted Mei Gongzi's divine consciousness significantly during this time. The improvement was noticeably faster than when she was in the White Tiger Palace. Before becoming a god, the physique and the spirit had to be in balance. If anything, the physique was more important in order to withstand the divine tribulation. But after that point, improving one's divine consciousness was far more important than enhancing their body. Divine consciousness determined one's future and potential. Cultivation could be elevated by absorbing spiritual energy of heaven and earth, which was abundant on the demon continent. However, improving divine consciousness required insight and mental concentration. Only beings like Tang San, who possessed a divine seat, could use faith energy directly to enhance their divine consciousness. Thus, he was truly unique on Phelan Planet. Mei Gongzi could even sense that if Tang San wasn't deliberately holding back, he would likely reach the 11th order in a short time. The Middle Pillar King explained the location. Then Tang San used the space-time lighthouse to carry him and Mei Gongzi in long-distance directional teleportation. This was a pretty straightforward method, locking onto a direction and teleporting a chunk of the distance, then reorienting and teleporting again. Of course, it was also a pretty cumbersome method. However, without precise coordinates for the Sea Giant clan, it was the only way to reach them for the first time. The Middle Pillar King personally experienced Tang San's powerful teleportation ability and couldn't help but be amazed. He considered himself extremely fast in the sea, but compared to this kind of teleportation, there was a vast difference. After a good dozen teleportations and directional adjustments, they finally arrived near the main settlement of the Sea Giant clan. Hovering above the sea, the Middle Pillar King took out a large azure conch and blew into it. Immediately, a strange sound wave spread out. Seawater surged, and massive figures began to emerge from the sea. Adult sea giants stood at least 50 meters tall, with some of the stronger ones reaching over 100 meters. This was how they got their name. When they died and transformed into sea pillars, their bodies would become 10 times larger, making them a very unique species. Hundreds of sea giants emerged from the sea, all bowing toward the Middle Pillar King. The Middle Pillar King stepped aside, revealing Tang San beside him, and said solemnly, "This is the Sea God. Lead the way to the palace." "Greetings, Sea God." It was evident that the sea giants were aware of Tang San's emergence as the Sea God, and they bowed in respect to him. Tang San nodded in return. The sea giants slowly parted to either side, and the seawater on the surface split, revealing a staircase leading down into the depths. The staircase seemed to stretch endlessly into the depths. "Sea God, please." The Middle Pillar King gestured for Tang San to proceed and took the lead, stepping down first. These steps were enormous, obviously designed for the sea giant's size. The staircase was not something built out of wood or stone. Instead, it seemed to be made of seawater. Tang San held Mei Gongzi's hand and followed the Middle Pillar King down. The sides of the staircase resembled windows, through which numerous marine creatures could be seen. The other sea giants did not use the steps but instead swam down through the seawater on both sides, guarding the passage. It seemed that not just anyone was qualified to walk on these stairs. Mei Gongzi's eyes were filled with amazement at the strange surroundings. If she hadn't met Tang San, she might never have seen such a magical sight in her entire life. Gradually, as they descended deeper into the sea, the surrounding light began to dim, but the Middle Pillar King, walking ahead, naturally emitted a faint blue glow that illuminated the surroundings. In the deep sea, the number of marine creatures began to dwindle. Beyond a depth of 1,000 meters, only a few peculiar-looking fish remained. At a depth of around 1,500 meters, an underwater palace finally came into view. Surprisingly, this palace seemed to be made of wood, and it was sprawling across the seafloor over a vast area. What was even more astonishing was the presence of massive trees faintly visible around the palace. The entire palace was enveloped in a layer of faint blue light, giving it a truly mystical appearance. Although the Middle Pillar King had described them before, when Tang San and Mei Gongzi saw the sea sky trees with their own eyes, they couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. Due to the poor lighting underwater, it was difficult to determine the exact height of these sea sky trees, but they could tell that many of the giant trees exceeded 1,000 meters. The staircase led them all the way to the seabed, stopping in front of the enormous palace. The Middle Pillar King raised a blue protective barrier around Tang San and Mei Gongzi, shielding them from the water pressure. Due to the sea giant's massive size, their palace was equally colossal. Upon reaching the seabed, Tang San and Mei Gongzi had to crank their necks to fully take in the palace's towering magnificence. Even the lowest parts of the palace were at least 100 meters tall. Truly, this was a land of giants. The palace doors were wide open, and 4 massive sea giants were waiting at the entrance. From the crowns on their heads, it was clear that they were the kings of the Sea Giant clan, each exuding an immensely powerful aura. 2 of them were at the 11th order, while the other 2 appeared to be at the peak of the 10th order. Upon seeing the Middle Pillar King, they nodded slightly in greeting. The Middle Pillar King stepped aside and introduced Tang San and Mei Gongzi. These are the Sea God and the Lord of Kali City on the Demon Continent. The 4 Sea Giant Kings looked at Tang San and Mei Gongzi, each bowing slightly in respect. Tang San and Mei Gongzi nodded in return. The Middle Pillar King gestured for them to proceed, and together they entered the palace. Inside the palace, the first thing that caught the eye was the series of enormous pillars. These pillars supported the palace, radiating an intense energy aura throughout. The water energy here was the strongest Tang San had encountered since arriving in this world. It was clear that the palace's construction was the result of countless generations of sea giant experts' wisdom and strength. The Middle Pillar King and the other 4 Sea Giant Kings led them into the largest palace. They invited Tang San and Mei Gongzi to take the main seats, with the Middle Pillar King sitting beside them, while the other 4 sea giant kings sat in the lower seats. The middle pillar king said solemnly, "Go and invite the sea sky tree king over." "Yes." A sea giant immediately went to carry out the order. Tang San looked at the enormous palace. The main hall had 24 giant pillars on each side, and was nearly 300 meters tall. Even on land, constructing such a palace would be extremely difficult. Only the ancestral court might have such capabilities. Building it in the deep sea had to be even more challenging. He was certain that, within the entire endless blue sea, only the Sea Giant clan possessed the capability to accomplish this. Even the Sea Dragon clan could not manage it. This was the foundation of the Sea Giant clan, their true legacy. The Middle Pillar King started to speak. "Sea God, our Sea Giant clan's palace has stood for many millennia. It is the culmination of the wisdom and strength of countless ancestors, and it records the history of our Sea Giant clan's development. According to ancient legends, our Sea Giant clan emerged at the same time as the sea. In those days, the sea often raged violently, constantly battering the land, making survival impossible. Perhaps the planar ruler took pity on the hardships of living beings and granted our clan the power to calm the sea. Thus, we earned the title of the Sea Calming Pillars. Since then, the sea has become gentler, no longer raging uncontrollably. Life on land was also able to thrive and multiply. Due to our contributions in calming the sea, our clan gradually developed spiritual intelligence. We led the sea beasts to live peacefully in the sea and allowed them to evolve. And this is not only during our lifetime. When our people die, they transform into sea pillars, stabilizing the deep sea and continuing to protect it. Because of this, we are revered by countless sea beasts. Many weaker clans choose to rely on us for protection. Our people are spread throughout the endless blue sea to stabilize the sea. Only when the sea is stable can the sea clans live and work in peace, and the creatures on land be free from the sea's impact. Thus, we have always had the favor of the plain, making us the strongest clan in the endless blue sea. It is because we are constantly protecting everything here that we receive the worship of the sea beasts. If there is anyone in the endless blue sea most likely to become an emperor, that person must be someone from among our ranks. At that time, the endless blue sea will have its own sea emperor, bringing even greater stability to the sea." Tang San listened quietly to his story, taking note of the wistfulness in his eyes. When the Middle Pillar King stopped, he calmly said, "The Sea Giant clan has a long history and has made great contributions to the endless blue sea. There's no doubt about that. But, Middle Pillar King, what are you trying to convey with this story? Please speak plainly." "He says this to make you leave the blue sea." At that moment, a deep voice sounded from outside. The next instant, a massive figure walked in. It was an elderly-looking being, towering over 100 meters tall, and with an immensely robust build. Unlike the Sea Giant clan, his skin was a deep blue, covered in countless wrinkles, and he held a staff resembling a gnarled tree branch, glowing with a faint blue light as he strode in. His aura was immensely powerful, almost on par with the Middle Pillar King. As he entered, the grand palace doors slowly shut behind him, and the majestic atmosphere within the hall grew rather oppressive. Mei Gongxi's face darkened and she was about to speak up, but Tang San held her hand, stopping her. Tang San looked calmly at the elder and said, "You must be the Sea Sky Tree King." "That is correct," the Sea Sky Tree King replied as he strode toward Tang San and the Sea Giant Kings. "What do you mean by asking me to leave the blue sea?" As he spoke, he glanced toward the Middle Pillar King. The Middle Pillar King's expression was complicated. He sighed and said, "Sea God, I have no doubt about your identity. I can clearly feel everything you have done for the endless blue sea. Because we are rooted in the endless blue sea and are its oldest intelligent clan, we can deeply sense the benefits you bring. You have eradicated the sea plague, consolidated fortune, and given all sea beasts the chance to ascend, making the endless blue sea more vibrant. All of this is worthy of our respect. However," he paused momentarily, then sighed again and continued, "but because of your arrival, everything in the endless blue sea has changed, and it is a change we are unwilling to see. Our clan has contributed to the peace and prosperity of the endless blue sea for countless years, and I must answer to my people. They stand as sea pillars in every corner of the endless blue sea, enduring the passage of time, yet in the end, Our clan has lost the opportunity to produce a sea emperor. This is something that none of our people can bear. Therefore, we ask you to leave the sea. We will let you go if you swear never to set foot in the sea again. And swear a blood oath, the Sea Sky Tree King added. Tang San listened quietly, then asked, As the sea god, how have I affected you? Shouldn't our goals be the same, for the future of the endless blue sea? The Middle Pillar King shook his head. Let's not beat around the bush. As the sea god, I can sense the special nature of the divine power emanating from you. It's different from those land emperors. You can gather the power of faith. According to our ancestral legacy as sea pillars, we contribute to the endless blue sea, and each sea pillar absorbs the faith from its anchored area. Over time, our clan would eventually give rise to a true sea god, with powers like yours but far greater, certainly much stronger than you are now, as you are only at the 10th order. Tang San looked at him and then at the other sea giant kings and suddenly smiled. If becoming a true god was that easy, why do you think none of the emperors on the demon continent have ever succeeded? Lack of faith energy? Wrong. There have been probably hundreds of emperors, and their kin all blindly believed in them. That's not it. The Middle Pillar King was taken aback. A divine seat isn't something that can be created purely by faith. You are correct, faith energy does bring benefits, but you've got it backward. Gods come first and then faith, not the other way around. To become a god, there needs to be a foundation. The plane must be able to bear a god's existence, allowing the god to be born and then absorb faith to grow. This kind of plane is known as a divine realm. But Phelan Planet is not a divine realm, and neither is it connected to one. So unless the plane evolves or a divine realm appears, no matter how long you serve as sea pillars or how many of you there are, a sea god will never be born. If that weren't the case, with your immense power and the amount of faith energy you have accumulated, you would have long since cleaned up the sea plague yourselves. You might wonder why I have a divine seat. I can tell you clearly that my divine seat doesn't come from this plane but from another one. In the near future, I will leave not just the sea but also Phelan Planet. I will return to the world where my divinity originates. So, you need not worry about me claiming the endless blue sea for myself. Tang San's gaze returned to the Middle Pillar King. Honestly, when you told me about the sea sky trees and their ability to connect islands with bridges and platforms, I already suspected something might happen. But I still came. I wanted to tell you that there's no need for you to worry. In at most 10 years, perhaps even less, I will leave Phelan Planet and take my beloved away from here. During my time here as the sea god, all I want is to do something for the endless blue sea and help humanity secure a place to live. Nothing more. I won't make light of the contributions your sea giant clan has made to the endless blue sea. We should cooperate to make the sea a better place, rather than compete for control over it. I seek nothing from the sea, I only give. Faith naturally gathers around a true God, and yes, it benefits me, but it's not something I can simply sever. So from the bottom of my heart, I hope we can work together. This is also because of a somewhat selfish desire. I hope you will continue to help humanity, even after I'm gone. One of the sea giant kings said in a deep voice. How do we know you're telling the truth? The best outcome for us is if you just leave now. You've solved the sea plague and we're grateful, but nobody can ensure you'll really leave within 10 years. What if you don't? In 10 years, your position as sea god will be deeply entrenched, and you'll be worshipped by countless sea beasts. By then, whatever you decide to do, we won't be able to stop you. Tang San furrowed his brow and retorted. If that's how you insist on thinking, there's nothing I can do. Today is a perfect opportunity. With your 5 sea giant kings and the sea sky tree king, you're able to trap us here or even kill us, keeping the endless blue sea as your world. Isn't that what you're thinking? None of the sea giant kings responded, but the sea sky tree king did. That's correct. We won't kill you. After all, you solved the sea plague and contributed significantly to the endless blue sea. But we will seal your cultivation and keep you here so you can no longer affect things here. Tang San sighed softly and looked at the Middle Pillar King.
Honestly, I'm disappointed.
I thought you were short-sighted from the beginning, but you are even worse than I thought. If the endless blue sea improves overall, as the strongest clan, you stand to benefit the most. Your long history has brought you great depth, but it seems to have made you lose the desire to look forward. So be it, there's no point in talking further. If you want to imprison us, then go ahead and try. If you succeed, everything will go as you imagined. But if you fail, well, I'm afraid that'll be your problem. Tang San took Mei Gongzi's hand and looked at his interlocutors with absolutely no fear in his eyes. It was clear that the sea giant kings were beyond persuasion. They were steadfast in their beliefs. They acknowledged Tang San's contributions to the endless blue sea, but also felt that he had disrupted their dominance, which they could not tolerate. This conflict could only be resolved through strength. There were 5 sea giant kings and the sea sky tree king, a total of 6 clan leaders. 4 of them were great sea kings and 2 were peak-level sea kings. Moreover, this was their palace, their territory. Everything seemed to be under their control. One of the sea giant kings sighed. "Sea God, forgive us. This is for the sake of our clan." As he spoke, he slowly raised his hand, and a blue light suddenly surged from his palm. In the next moment, the entire hall emitted a deep humming sound. The massive pillars supporting the palace lit up, revealing countless carvings on their surfaces. These carvings recorded the experiences of the sea giants that had solidified into sea pillars. It was clear that every single pillar here was the relic of a sea king or even great sea king, beings of unquestionable power. In fact, they were very much like the celestial pillars of the ancestral court, retaining some of the energy aura the sea giants had during their lifetimes. While they could not compare to the celestial pillars, their power was undeniable. As the 24 sea pillars lit up, the entire hall was shrouded in an intense blue light that formed a barrier, completely isolating it from the outside world. A tremendous amount of energy descended into the hall. Stimulated by this energy, the auras of the 5 sea giant kings and the sea sky tree king surged, and their power visibly increased. The middle pillar king looked at Tang San and said in a low voice, "Sea God, please don't resist. I truly do not wish to harm you. This place is blessed by our ancestors. Even if an emperor from the demon continent were here instead, they could do nothing against us here. This is our world. The Sea Sky Palace itself is an exceptionally powerful artifact." Tang San looked at him calmly and said, "If we were on the demon continent, it's true that as a 10th order cultivator, I wouldn't be able to face an emperor head-on. But this is the endless blue sea. You still don't understand what it means for a god to be in their own domain. I didn't intend to do things this way, but since you insist on forcing me, why don't we make a bet?" The middle pillar king was momentarily stunned. "What bet? If we lose this battle today, then there's nothing more to say. You can do as you wish. I will publicly renounce my position as sea god and swear a blood oath never to enter the blue sea again. Then can you rightfully continue as the rulers of the sea. But if we win, I won't make things difficult for you. Your contributions to the endless blue sea are too great to be ignored. But you must implement the plan you talked about earlier, whatever it costs you. Whether you use sea pillars or sea sky trees, you must connect the islands and establish a sea kingdom for humanity." The middle pillar king looked at the sea sky tree king, who suddenly burst into laughter. "Middle pillar king, what's there to hesitate about? If we win, things end here. If we lose, then what can we do to resist anyway?" The middle pillar king nodded and said in a serious tone, "Very well. Sea God, please show us your power." Tang San ignored them and turned to Mei Gongzi beside him, smiling slightly. "You don't need to step in. Let me show you just how powerful your husband is in the sea so you can feel at ease. They're right. If an emperor came here, this Sea Sky Palace could suppress them, provided the emperor isn't overwhelmingly powerful like the undying demon emperor. But for me, as long as I am above the endless blue sea, I can contend with any emperor myself. I don't need the palace. As for the sea beasts themselves." As he spoke, Tang San's eyes suddenly brightened. Radiant golden light burst forth from his entire body. The middle pillar king and the sea sky tree king reacted the fastest, almost instantly unleashing their auras. They channeled the power of the Sea Sky Palace, concentrating their energy to suppress Tang San. The other 4 sea giant kings quickly joined in, and the 6 combined their powers. But the moment their massive force, enhanced by the Sea Sky Palace, collided with the golden light emanating from Tang San, the faces of the 6 kings changed dramatically. The golden light remained radiant. Instead of suppressing it, the combined power of the 6 kings seemed to fuel the light, making it suddenly even more brilliant. The dazzling glow illuminated every detail of the entire Sea Sky Palace. Tang San's figure rapidly expanded, and the golden light enveloped Mei Gongzi. In almost an instant, his height reached over 100 meters. The dazzling golden light frantically absorbed all the energy within the Sea Sky Palace, merging it into his golden body. The intense divine aura made him appear as the supreme ruler of the palace. Tang San's aura surged madly, and even without bringing out the sea god's trident, his presence had reached an unparalleled level. A fear originating from the very core of their divine consciousness simultaneously struck the 6 kings, causing them to take a step back instinctively. They were all stunned, and their eyes wide in disbelief. Their power, and the power of the Sea Sky Palace, could only serve as nourishment for Tang San. Forget about chaining him down, it actually gave him wings. 8 days ago you might have had a slim chance. But I have spent these past 8 days completing the foundational blessing of the endless blue sea, which is equivalent to merging my divine seat with the sea. Now I am the sea and the sea is me. All your powers come from the endless blue sea and are connected to it. Therefore you are all subjects of the sea god. And those subjects who act against their god are sinners. Tang San's voice was deep and filled with authority, tinged with a hint of reproach. The golden light emanating from him grew increasingly intense. The Middle Pillar King was horrified to realize that he had lost control of the Sea Sky Palace. The entire palace was now under Tang San's command. This made perfect sense. Why shouldn't a divine artifact born from the sea be controlled by the sea god? But because this world had never seen a true god, the sea giant kings did not understand what a god truly meant. Any god within their domain ruled supreme over everything within it, regardless of cultivation level. Tang San was the sea god, so nothing born within the sea he governed could defy him. This was a qualitative difference that did not stem from cultivation. Indeed, the Middle Pillar King had never understood what the sea god represented. The young man in front of him was no longer the Ninth Order Tang San, who needed a lightning tribulation to threaten them. He was now a true god, the supreme existence of the endless blue sea. Using any power within the blue sea to oppose him was fundamentally impossible. This was why Tang San, even while fully aware that the Middle Pillar King had some ill intentions, had brought Mei Gongzi here with him, because within the endless blue sea, there was simply no force capable of harming him. Tang San spread his arms wide, and the trident mark on his forehead suddenly burst out with radiant light. A beam of golden light shone directly upon the Middle Pillar King. The Middle Pillar King felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He was completely unable to resist. His own power seemed to turn against him, restricting his movements, and he couldn't muster a single ounce of strength. Under the shocked gazes of the other kings, he rapidly shrank until he was the size of a human. One after another, beams of golden light shot out, striking the remaining 5 kings, causing them to experience the same transformation. Initially, Tang San had seemed insignificant in their presence, but now the roles were entirely reversed. The 6 kings appeared minuscule before Tang San, as their cultivation had been completely sealed by his power. The surface of the 24 sea pillars shimmered with light, streams of energy flowing toward Tang San, merging into his body and making the golden light around him even more radiant. All 6 kings were suppressed and forced to the ground. There they deeply sensed the terrifying divine aura emanating from Tang San. They couldn't move or speak, but they could still think and felt the full terror of the sea god. Behind Tang San, a massive throne formed from golden light appeared, and Tang San sat upon it, closing his eyes. From the outside, the Sea Sky Palace appeared to burst forth with intense golden light, painting the surrounding sea floor in gold. Ripples of golden radiance spread outward, blessing the sea. This was the power of the sea god. Although this place was far from Crescent Island, it didn't matter. It was still part of the sea. Tang San took this opportunity to extend his blessing to this region, allowing more sea beasts to experience the bliss that the sea god's blessing brought. The greatest mistake of the Middle Pillar King and the others was their lack of understanding of gods, and their ignorance of what a true god represented. Even though Tang San did not have a divine realm to connect to in this plane, his divine seat was very much his all the same. This was why the plane had triggered the 9 heavens 10 earths divine extinguishing tribulation to prevent his ascension. In the end, it had no choice, especially after being bribed with the fortune Tang San returned to it by breaking open those lotus seeds, and reluctantly allowed him to succeed. With that, he had become a completely unique being in this plane. On land, this wasn't as evident, as it wasn't his domain and he hadn't returned to his God-King cultivation level just yet. But once he was above the sea, especially now that he had connected his divine seat to the faith source that was the endless blue sea, he had truly become the sea's ruler. Even the planar ruler would not readily interfere with his authority. Moreover, everything Tang San did after arriving in the endless blue sea was purely beneficial for the plane. As the sea god, he cared for the endless blue sea, eradicated the sea plague, and consolidated fortune for the sea. All of this aligned with the plane's balance and benefited its normal development, so the planar ruler had absolutely no reason to prevent it from happening. Thus, Tang San's position as sea god was firmly established. The Sea Giant clan's attempt to seize control of the endless blue sea was nothing short of a joke to Tang San. In his own domain, they had no chance of matching him in battle. Even if they brought out some never-before-seen resources, Tang San's and Mei Gongxi's cultivation made them unafraid. Though his sea god's trident had nothing but a tiny sliver of a transcendent divine artifact's power, it could channel the immense power of the endless blue sea itself, which was more than enough to suppress anything. All divine artifacts born from the sea possessed a trace of divinity ultimately connected to the sea god. The Sea Sky Palace was indeed an exceptionally powerful artifact, one that would rank among the top even on the demon continent. But what use was that? Unleashing it before Tang San was akin to gifting him the artifact. The 5 Sea Giant Kings and the Sea Sky Tree King were suppressed on the ground, utterly terrified. Their senses remained, and they could even feel that Tang San was seemingly drawing the energy accumulated in their ancestral land, which had sustained the Sea Giants for countless years. The Sea Giant clan had always followed their ancestral teachings, tirelessly preparing for the day when they could produce a Sea Emperor or even a Sea God. They amassed vast reserves and waited for the moment of transformation. A long time ago, they had been on the brink of achieving their goal. They had been truly close to producing an emperor. And if an emperor had been born, the Sea Giants would undoubtedly have become the rulers of the endless blue sea. They could have gathered even more faith to absorb, potentially allowing them to ascend further. At least that was how they saw it. But the demon continent's consumption of the planet's fortune shattered the Sea Giant clan's dream. In the end, no emperor was born, and the faith energy accumulated over countless years could only keep accumulating. Indeed, the Sea Giant clan had significantly contributed to stabilizing the sea and protecting the sea clans. This was the reason they had accumulated a considerable amount of faith over countless years. They very much deserved it. Otherwise, Tang San would have never tolerated their actions and would have directly struck them down. But the facts remained. The Sea Giants, driven by their self-interest, disregarded the immense benefits the sea god brought to the endless blue sea and twice attempted to suppress or imprison Tang San. Punishment had to be carried out. Of course, Tang San would not exterminate the Sea Giant clan. As one of the strongest clans in the endless blue sea, their existence greatly contributed to the sea's balance. Had the Middle Pillar King not launched this targeted action against him, Tang San might have even aided them. The clan had a chance to give rise to an emperor before his departure, and Tang San very much looked forward to that. But now that was impossible. As Tang San continued to bless the sea, he simultaneously devoured and absorbed the energy stored by the Sea Giants. His aura rose rapidly, and this elevation was not just in his divine consciousness, but also in his internal energy. As the sea god, the energy within the sea was the easiest for him to absorb. The power accumulated by the Sea Giant clan in their ancestral land resided within the Sea Pillars and the Sea Sky Palace itself. This energy, filtered over countless years, was incredibly pure and could be absorbed with minimal effort. All of Tang San's bloodline imprints were being elevated. They were growing like never before. His usual cultivation method involved accumulating power to break through all at once, which was certainly fast, but it was nothing compared to the speed of directly devouring energy. Behind him, a halo appeared, with the Chaos Blue-Silver Emperor radiating brilliance from the center. The droplet of chaos water radiated chaos energy, which swirled around Tang San's body, allowing him to further purify and absorb the energy from the Sea Giant's reservoir. Tang San could clearly feel his transformation. The divine quality of his physique was being increasingly refined, and even his divine seat was actually being nourished. The vast sea around the sea giant settlement was blessed by Tang San's sea god aura, drawing in immense faith. Only the sea giant clan's own accumulation was diminishing, the punishment for their transgressions. The 5 sea giant kings could clearly feel what was happening. By now they deeply regretted their actions, but they could neither speak nor move. They could only watch helplessly as Tang San emptied the coffers they'd been filling for tens of generations. They could sense the energy within each sea pillar rapidly diminishing, while Tang San's aura grew increasingly powerful. So this is what a true god is. He is only at the 10th order, and yet within this great sea, no one can do anything against him. A faint smile appeared on Tang San's face. In the next instant, brilliant golden light surged skyward, bursting out from the Sea Sky Palace, piercing through the surface of the sea, and shooting straight into the sky. Vast golden light expanded outward, and a massive shadow of the sea god emerged on the surface of the ocean. Countless marine creatures bowed in this direction, worshipping their god. The power of faith surged wildly, and Tang San had advanced. Just a few months after his divine tribulation, he officially broke through to the 11th order, at an even younger age than Mei Gongzi. This was the result of enduring that tremendous tribulation, as well as absorbing a massive amount of faith energy from the sea. At the 11th order, Tang San's personal strength and the authority of the sea god were far greater than they'd been at the 10th. The vast expanse of the endless blue sea was bathed in the golden light, the sea god's sincerest blessing. Inside the Sea Sky Palace, golden light also blossomed. The sea-calming pillars that Tang San had just drained began to gather energy once more under the illumination of the golden light. This was the feedback from the immense power of faith. The energy was obviously nowhere near as dense as before, but after being infused with Tang San's divinity, it was completely different in quality. On each sea-calming pillar, numerous golden patterns appeared. These patterns no longer depicted the history of the sea giant clan, but instead illustrated the shapes of various marine creatures. A grand and majestic voice echoed across the vast sea region for thousands of nautical miles. The sea giant clan, throughout countless long years of history, has held dominion over the endless blue sea, contributing greatly to its stability. Now, as the sea god, I bestow my blessing upon them. The sea-calming pillars formed after the fall of the sea giants shall henceforth be named sea god pillars, and they shall benefit all sea beasts for ages to come. The Sea Sky Palace shall henceforth be known as the sea god's temple, and it shall be a place of worship. When the 5 sea giant kings and the Sea Sky Tree King heard this, they were stunned. They instinctively raised their heads to look at Tang San, only now realizing that they were once more able to move. When Tang San began to devour the sea giant clan's foundation in large quantities, they were in despair. What could they say about Tang San's actions? They were the ungrateful ones. They had attacked first. They had wanted to banish their own god. These were nothing more than the consequences of their own actions. However, after Tang San had broken through in his cultivation, he did not continue to devour their energy. Instead, he even gave back to the sea giant clan. Renaming the sea pillars was not meant as an insult, nor was it done willy-nilly. They could clearly tell that things had actually changed in their favor. For a moment, the 6 kings felt extremely conflicted and didn't know what to say. They had treated Tang San harshly, yet he had still repaid their malice with kindness. He needed energy to cultivate, that much was clear, and they fully understood why he'd taken it. However, half of it still remained. He could have devoured it all to further increase his own power, but he had chosen not to. At the same time, he had not only imbued the sea pillars with his divinity, but changed their name to associate them with the sea god. This would undoubtedly direct a portion of the faith energy stemming from the sea beast's worship of the sea god into the pillars. This power would bring benefits to the sea giant clan far greater than the foundation that had been consumed. In other words, although Tang San had taken some of their power, the feedback he provided was even greater, offering a brighter future for the sea giant clan. Still seated on the divine throne, Tang San looked down at the 6 kings and said calmly, "Do you understand now?" At this moment, the 6 kings all rose from the ground. The middle pillar king wore a look of shame on its face, and he was the first to kneel, bowing sincerely to Tang San. The other 5 kings followed suit, bowing down to Tang San as well. Tang San's face showed a faint smile. He nodded and said, "I'm heading back. I'll be waiting for you and your people." After saying this, he transformed into a beam of golden light and shot into the sky together with Mei Gongzi. The walls of the sea god's temple posed no barrier to him at all, and in the next moment, he was gone. The 6 kings' shrunken forms gradually returned to their original state. The 6 of them exchanged glances, unable to say anything momentarily. A long time passed before the Sea Sky Tree King looked at the Middle Pillar King and asked, "Well, now what?" "What do you mean now what? It's all our fault for being short-sighted. Now I finally know what a true god is. In front of a being like that, we are too insignificant. The sea god is right. No matter how much energy we accumulate, we'll never be able to cross that barrier. Anyway, it's clear what we have to do now. We must support him at all costs, for the sake of our clans and for the sake of the endless blue sea. Whatever he orders we execute, no questions asked. For now, I will be taking our clansmen to Crescent Island and see how we can proceed to connect the islands to each other, as we promised. I'll only leave behind some people to take care of our ancestral land. What about you?" The Sea Tree King smiled wryly and said, "What else can I do? The sea god repaid our malice with kindness. If we don't give something back, it means we don't know gratitude. Besides, we lost the bet. Our clan will move with you." The Middle Pillar King nodded. "All right, let's make proper plans. We've made too many mistakes before. This time we must make up for them properly." Light flickered, and Tang San and Mei Gongzi suddenly appeared on the shore. The coordinates of Crescent Island were very clear, so they could teleport back directly from the Sea God Palace without needing the trouble of a targeted teleport. Upon returning to the shore, Mei Gongzi looked at Tang San with a rather peculiar gaze. The Sea Giant King's shock at Tang San's divine abilities was completely understandable, and Mei Gongzi was no less stunned. It had been just over a week since she'd arrived at the sea with Tang San, and her divine consciousness had already grown significantly. This was nothing but a passive effect of being around Tang San, which was absolutely incredible. Tang San himself had astonishingly advanced from the 10th order to the 11th in just a few days as well. Now she finally understood why Tang San had once said that as long as he could successfully become a god, everything would no longer be a problem. It seemed that many previously thorny issues could be settled just like that. Even if an emperor came to the endless blue sea, Tang San's authority as the sea god would be enough to contend with them. Moreover, his rate of growth was unbelievably high. In just over 3 months, he had progressed from the 10th order to the 11th. How could demons and nymphs who cultivated for countless years even begin to comprehend this? Normally, advancing from the 10th order to the 11th took decades, even for someone with extraordinary talent. Reflecting on the various things Tang San had said in the past, Mei Gongzi realized there were many things she could only truly understand now. For instance, Tang San had once mentioned that their tribulations would be incredibly difficult, but the benefits brought by those tribulations would be immense. As long as they could withstand the tribulation, their potential would skyrocket, and future cultivation would become much easier. This wasn't just easier. It was ridiculously easy, wasn't it? A year ago, she and Tang San were both still at the 9th order, unsure when or if they would reach godhood. A year later, they were both at the 11th order, wielding powerful divine weapons. She had become the ruler of Kali City, securing a place on the demon continent, while he had become the sea god and ensured the endless blue sea was their territory. When Tang San first told her that there was a destined bond between them, Mei Gongzi had found it hard to believe, but now she truly believed it. Moreover, when Tang San unleashed his divine power a few moments back, she had once more seen fragments of scenes that seemed to be from her past, and this time, they were much clearer than before. "What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that?" "Don't worry, the Sea Giant clan won't be an issue anymore. No matter how foolish they might be, they can't possibly fail to understand the significance of what I've done this time. This is good. Otherwise, I'd be in no position to force them to relocate. Now, even if I don't say anything, they'll try their best to find ways to help us." Mei Gongzi nodded lightly. "Big brother, you're amazing." Tang San was suddenly stunned. "What did you call me?" Apart from his short stint as Azura, Mei Gongzi had always insisted that he call her big sister Mei. She usually just called him by his name, and sometimes when joking around she would call him Little Tang. These words caused Tang San's entire body to shiver. Not even when facing the threat of the Six Kings had he reacted this way. Mei Gongzi seemed slightly confused as she looked at Tang San, and there was something peculiar about her gaze. Tang San's eyes widened. Did you remember something? Mei Gongzi nodded slightly. I think I saw something. I saw us climbing stairs together, and I saw you in a massive temple, struggling to pull out a golden trident. It felt like I was worried about you, worried about something. Tang San's voice trembled. That was when we were on Sea God Island, undergoing the Sea God's 9 trials. Climbing the stairs was the first trial. Pulling out the Sea God's trident was the final test. It was at that moment that I became the Sea God. Do you remember Shao Wu? When Mei Gongzi heard the word Shao Wu, her eyes suddenly cleared. She looked at Tang San and suddenly asked, Do you really want me to be Shao Wu that much? Tang San was taken aback and didn't answer. He didn't know how to. Of course he hoped she would be Shao Wu, but the Mei Gongzi of this life had her own experiences, and those experiences shaped her entire life in this world, a life in which he had been deeply involved. To fully awaken Shao Wu's memories and completely erase her memories of this life would be truly unfair to her.
I'm sorry.
I shouldn't have asked you that. Mei Gongzi stepped forward, taking his hand. In our past life, I must have called you Big Brother, right? I don't even know why I said it just now. It just slipped out naturally, and it felt just right. I can feel that as my divine consciousness grows, some things are gradually coming back. And these memories are merging with everything I am now. The more these memories return, the more attached I feel to you. It makes me understand how deeply we loved each other in our past lives. And in this life it seems I've already fallen for you too. You're so overbearing. I know people are supposed to be together until death do them part, but you wouldn't even let me go when I died. Hearing her words, Tang San couldn't help but laugh, and he suddenly pulled her into his arms. That's right. I am exactly that overbearing. Whether it's this life, the last one, or all the lives to come, I will always be this way. I will always be yours, and you will always be mine. You? Temempit. Mei Gongzi was about to protest, but Tang San leaned down and captured her lips before she could say another word. In that instant, her mind went completely blank, and memories of both this life and the last were all but erased in that moment. The setting sun cast its golden red glow over the sea, illuminating them as well, and on the beach, their entwined shadows stretched long and merged into one. As night fell, the island grew quite chilly. It was located in the northeast of the Demon Continent, so it experienced distinct seasons and harsh winters. The island was now dotted with numerous wooden houses, both large and small. These houses were built with sturdy structures, and in some areas, large windbreak walls had been constructed to shield the inhabitants against the sea breeze. Inside one of the larger wooden houses, Zhang Haoshuan, Tang San, Mei Gongzi, and Tang San's comrades were all gathered in a circle. Beside them was a stone fireplace, the only stone item in the entire house. Stones were too heavy to carry by ship on the regular, and the island's supply of stone was limited. Besides, wood was more versatile and practical in many ways, which is why nearly all the houses on the island were made of wood. However, the fireplace was obviously an exception. It had to be made out of stone and clay. Outside, the sea wind howled, bringing a bone-piercing chill, but inside the room it was warm and cozy. Since arriving on Crescent Island, this was Tang San's first reunion with everyone. He had been busy blessing the endless blue sea and connecting his divine seat to it, and he'd only found time to join them today. Mei Gongzi sat to Tang San's left, while Dubai sat on his right, occasionally nudging him with his shoulder and winking mischievously. Tang San couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. What exactly do you want now? Dubai chuckled and said, You've already become a god. When are you going to help out your brothers? I'm barely at the 8th order myself. Tang San couldn't help but laugh. You have the celestial fox bloodline. Reaching the 8th order at your age is already quite impressive. How is your control over fortune now? Not bad, I guess. I bless Crescent Island every day, you know. Haven't you noticed how everything's smooth and steady here? That's partly thanks to me. So come on, help me out. Do you think I can get to the 10th order someday? It's possible. I can help you with your bloodline level, but you'll still need to train hard on your own. Don't slack off on the purple demon eyes. To reach the 10th order, you need to cultivate the purple demon eyes to their peak, and get your spiritual power to a saturated state first. Alright, I'll just do whatever you say, Dubai said with a cheeky grin. Zhang Haoshuan said, Enough, Dubai, stop interrupting. Tang San, tell us about your plan. Tang San nodded and said, Master, I'm planning to establish a nation for our people who have immigrated overseas. Establish a nation? Hearing those words, everyone's spirits lifted, and all eyes turned to Tang San. Wu Bingji asked worriedly, Isn't it a bit too soon? The scattered islands will be difficult to manage, won't they? Tang San replied, I'll handle the issue of the scattered islands. Establishing a nation will allow us to manage our people better. The population is growing, and it will only continue to expand. Without a unified government system, development will be terribly slow. If we want to contend with demons and nymphs in the future, we have a lot of work to do: standardized education for the children, unified training and cultivation methods, economic development, agriculture, all that. There's so much that needs to be organized. At the beginning of the migration, everyone was excited just to have a place to survive, so cooperation was easy. But as people settle in, they'll get complacent, and then we'll have a bunch of issues on our hands. The Redemption Society can mediate to some extent, but it's not enough. We need a more comprehensive system, and that can only be the government of a country. That's what we need to deal with our people properly. We have to help them better themselves so they can truly grow strong in the future. Guli asked, Even though we're overseas, if we start a country, won't we risk being attacked again by the demon continent? Tang San said solemnly, They might attack us, but in the endless blue sea, I am confident I can deal with them. Then we don't have any objections. What do you need us to do? Asked Zhang Haoshuan. We will need you to help us coordinate things. Governing a nation is a tall task, and even though some mistakes are acceptable in the beginning, we need to make sure we're going in the right direction from the very start. Then who will be the leader of this nation? You or City Lord Mei? Tang San shook his head. Neither of us would be suitable. I think for the time being we can refer to the model of the demon continent and establish a council. It's going to be much more easily accepted by the people than if we just go ahead and get a king or something of the kind. This council can include me, Little Mei, Aunt Su, you, and the senior members of the Redemption Society. We'll make collective decisions. Then we have to divide the organization into two sectors, civil and military. The civil sector will focus on stabilizing and governing the nation, while the military will handle security for both internal and external threats. Even though we are many and we will grow strong, we can't just forget where we've come from. Demons and nymphs are powerful, and we won't be able to match them for at least a century. But humanity has its strengths, learning and creativity. In any case, the islands will be our main territory, and I'll do my best to secure even more space for us. All in all, we'll have to rely on the Redemption Society to help with the government, but I will deal with external enemies for now. That's the plan. Dubai couldn't help but ask, Tang San, do you think that one day humans will have the power to rival demons and nymphs? Tang San smiled slightly. Trust me, that day will come sooner or later. I mean, look at what we've done until now. A few years ago, could you have imagined that we would have such a vast territory just for us?
Du Ben Oded.
Yeah, it's really hard to imagine. You have no idea how amazing it felt when we first arrived here. Feeling free and not having to be on guard all the time is just incredible. That's what we need to keep working for, so that more humans can experience that feeling. Only when we're free can we develop. Zhang Haoshuan said, I agree with everything you've said. I'll communicate with the organization as soon as possible. There shouldn't be much resistance. Tang San had never met the senior members of the Redemption Society, but with Mei Gongzi serving as Lord of Kali City, there was no doubt that she and her mother held the greatest influence within the organization. Zhang Haoshuan was now the overseer of the migrants, an absolutely critical role. With their combined support, it would be difficult for the other members of the Redemption Society to oppose them. Moreover, establishing a country would be a milestone event for humanity. It would make everyone incredibly happy. The Redemption Society had no reason to object. Wu Bingji asked, So when are we starting? Tang San smiled slightly. Once we've connected the islands, Cheng Ziqing asked in confusion. How's that going to work? Teleportation arrays? But not everyone can use teleportation arrays, and they're pretty expensive to set up. Not teleportation arrays. We have something else going, but let me keep it a secret for now. You'll find out when the time comes. Mei Gongzi couldn't help but smile. She was the only one who knew that, in truth, Tang San himself wasn't entirely sure how the Sea Giant clan and the Sea Tree clan would complete the connection of the islands. At least one thing was certain. These two clans would undoubtedly do their best. Tang San said, Eldest senior brother, Sister Zicheng, I can see that both of you have reached the peak of the 9th order. Especially you, eldest brother. You've been at the peak for a while now. Are you planning to break through? Wu Bingji nodded and said, I'm ready to break through, but Zicheng still wants to accumulate a bit more. I've been compressing my bloodline energy recently, and the more I do that, the more I understand what you told me back in the day. The more you accumulate before facing the tribulation, the further you can go in the future. I've reached the point where I can't hold back anymore, which is why I'm considering breaking through. Tang San nodded and smiled. That's the best approach. Prepare yourself, and when you're ready, I'll protect you during your tribulation. Sister Zicheng and Brother Gu should also start preparing. Your foundation is the most important. You shouldn't get complacent just because you can become gods. You have to aim for the 11th order. Their bloodline talents were not particularly amazing. Without Tang San, even reaching the 10th order would be extremely difficult. And even with Tang San's help, the 11th order was likely the best they could do. Becoming emperors was out of the question. In fact, Mei Gongzi was the first human in history to reach the 11th order, although most of humanity was not yet aware of that. Tang San, of course, was the second. Zhang Haoshuan asked Tang San, Speaking of that, we had that talk about finding a cultivation path for our people. How's that going? Tang San said, I've been thinking and experimenting a lot lately, and I've found some direction. I plan to go into seclusion soon to study it closely. Don't worry, I'll give it my all. This is crucial for our future. Now that things had mostly stabilized, it was indeed time for him to focus on this task. Tang San had some ideas before, but figuring out how to implement them required a massive amount of trial and error. After all, this was about finding a suitable cultivation path for humanity. Through his years of observing the humans of this plane, he had determined that the mysterious heaven technique was not suitable as the main cultivation method here. The spiritual energy of this plane was different from that of the Douluo continent where he once lived. Comparatively, the various elemental energies in this plane were much more active than on the Douluo continent, but the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was lacking in terms of purity. If one were to use the mysterious heaven technique to cultivate without Tang San's experience and level of control, it would be very easy to deviate from the correct path and end up with massive problems. While it wasn't impossible to do it, the likelihood of encountering problems was too high. Moreover, absorbing different bloodlines like Tang San did only increase the risk of something going awry, and it simply wasn't worth the risk. Zhang Haoshuan nodded. All right, I'll leave it to you. The group chatted late into the night, discussing various plans for governing their future country. Eventually, Zhang Haoshuan and the others left, leaving the house to Tang San and Mei Gongzi. Although they weren't officially together, everyone knew they were a couple. Are you planning to stay here for your seclusion? Mei Gongzi asked, snuggling into Tang San's arms. Tang San nodded and said, Within the endless blue sea, the power of faith nurtures my divine consciousness, and it keeps my thoughts clear. So staying here for seclusion is the best choice. You should join me. My divine consciousness growth will also provide feedback to you through the Azura sword. Sure, but I'll have to return to Kali City every now and then. Otherwise, I'd be a really irresponsible city lord, Mei Gongzi said with a smile. Tang San couldn't help but laugh. Isn't that right? But don't worry too much. By the way, I'm planning to invite Xiaohe over as well. When it comes to governing a city, and even more so a nation, the Redemption Society isn't particularly skilled. They've always operated in secret, focused on resistance efforts. Peacetime management isn't really their strength. In this regard, no one on the demon continent is better than the Peacock Great Demon King. That's why you gave him a human body, didn't you? Retorted Mei Gongzi in a mockingly reproachful tone. Tang San's face was nowhere near thin enough for him to lie about it. Yes, that was an important part of it, but I really wasn't lying about a human body being the most suitable. It's very receptive to different energies, so it gave me the highest chance of success. Then I'll go back tomorrow and bring my father over. Though, I'm not sure if my second mother will be willing to let him go. I wouldn't worry about that. Now that we have the teleportation array, with her cultivation level, coming to Crescent Island would only take a moment. Shao He is a great talent in governance, and we can't just let him rot away in his palace. With him, our human nation is way more likely to develop smoothly. This will also free up time for us to grow stronger. Mei Gongzi looked up at him and asked, "Didn't you say that when we become truly powerful, we'll leave this world and return to our former plane? What will happen here then?" "Don't worry. Before we leave, I will make sure to prepare everything for our people before we go. And even if we're gone, it doesn't mean we won't ever come back."
Mei Gongzi nodded.
"All right, it's getting late. Let's rest." As she spoke, she tried to get up from Tang San's embrace. For them, meditation was the best form of rest and could also improve their cultivation. But Tang San tightened his hold on her, closed his eyes and said, "I don't want to meditate tonight. Will you stay with me?" Mei Gongzi was stunned for a moment, and then her face turned bright red. She lowered her voice, saying, No, we're not married yet, you." Just as she was saying this, she noticed that Tang San's breathing had become more even. Leaning against the wooden wall, he had already fallen asleep, though his arms around her were still tight and showed no sign of loosening.
Mei Gongzi stared in disbelief.
Had he really fallen asleep just like that? He was already an 11th order powerhouse. But the next moment, she felt her heart throb. Right? It never really occurred to me, but he must be really tired. Ever since they had traveled to the ancestral court together, she for her duties and he for his tribulation, Tang San had been under constant tension. While she was reporting to the court, he faced an unprecedented tribulation, manipulating over a dozen emperors of the ancestral court single-handedly. After that, he continued to accompany her in cultivation while also managing affairs overseas, all while dealing with the shock and mental strain of thousands of his people being slaughtered. Then, after finally returning from the ancestral court, he immediately came to the endless blue sea, connecting to the sea and establishing his dominance. And this very morning, he faced 6 kings of the sea, showcasing his might under their pressure and pushing his cultivation to the 11th order. Throughout all of this, he displayed strength and wisdom, giving her the impression that he was invincible and untouchable. But was he? Not even true gods were immune to fatigue. Yet he kept pushing through, doing everything he could to support everyone. To support her for the most part. And now, with everything having mostly settled, he was tired, truly exhausted. He may be fine physically, but his heart and spirit had never been so tired ever since he'd come into this world. She wrapped her arms around him tightly, feeling a deep ache in her heart, an ache of sympathy. She activated her spatial power, teleporting the two of them on the bed, just as they were. She let him hold her, carefully adjusting his position to make him as comfortable as possible. She didn't try to break free from his embrace because she was aware that with her in his arms, he would sleep more soundly and rest better. Just like with him in her arms, she felt safe and at peace. When Tang San woke from his sleep, he felt warm and indescribably comfortable. A sense of peace and relaxation pervaded his body and mind. A faint fragrance lingered around his nose. He looked down and saw her long jet-black hair cascading like a waterfall. He was slightly stunned, but in the next moment his heart filled with happiness. He gently pulled her closer into his embrace, adjusting her head to rest more comfortably on his arm. His other hand wrapped around her waist. Their clothes were no different from the day before, but they were covered by a blanket. Although at their level of cultivation, the warmth of a blanket didn't mean much, the feeling of being under it together was simply intoxicating. The warmth and comfort allowed Tang San to completely relax. "My wife is here. Shao Wu or Mei Gongzi, she is mine all the same." He watched her for a while, occasionally lowering his head to kiss her hair softly, waiting for her to wake up. But Mei Gongzi slept just as deeply as he had. The sky outside was gradually brightening, yet she showed no sign of waking up. There truly is nothing. Emperors? God kings? Divine realms? Who cares about all that when I can enjoy this? Right now, Tang San just wanted to be with his beloved. No feeling in this world compared to this tranquility and warmth at it. Wasn't until the sun was high in the sky that Mei Gongzi finally stirred slightly. In the next moment, her body stiffened and tensed up. She didn't lift her head or move a single finger. Obviously, Tang San knew she was awake, but he held back his laughter and didn't expose her. He remained completely still, pretending to be asleep as well. After a long while, Mei Gongzi finally peeked up, sneaking a glance at him. What she saw were Tang San's eyes wide open, and his mouth smiling back at her.
Ah! Mei Gongzi exclaimed,
quickly lowering her head and burying it back in his chest, squirming awkwardly to let out her embarrassment. Tang San hurriedly hugged her tightly, laughing helplessly. All right, sweetheart, stop squirming. If you keep moving, something's really going to happen. There was a flash of silver light, and Tang San's arms suddenly tightened around the empty air. She had vanished like smoke. Her voice came from outside the door. I am heading back to Kali City. You can focus on your research. With her gone, the place now felt empty, but Tang San just chuckled. It's fine, there's no rush. Once strange, twice familiar. After Mei Gongzi returned to Kali City, Tang San didn't rush into seclusion either. He wasn't in the right state of mind for it. Taking the rare opportunity to relax, he decided to leave the room and take a stroll around Crescent Island. Most people were busy building and improving their new homes. Compared to when they were on the Demon Continent, humans here were clearly in much better spirits. Most wore joyful smiles, free from anxiety and fear. This was the first place where they could live in peace and work happily for themselves. It was the first place that allowed them to feel warmth. They treasured it dearly. Tang San walked all the way to the shore, gazing out at the endless blue sea. There was a hint of enchantment in his eyes. The sea was always so beautiful. Looking at it always filled his heart with joy. Humanity had the right to a future in this world. They had the right to enjoy this beauty. As the sea god, his duty was to protect this beauty. He slowly raised his head and looked at the sky. The sun hung high. The sky was an infinite, almost transparent blue. But only someone who had once been a god king like him could truly understand that, beyond all this, an invisible force was always in control of everything. In a way, Tang San felt he was greedy, for he wanted to be with his loved ones and family forever. In another way, it was only normal. Any living being with a good life naturally wants to keep living, and he was no exception. But what does true immortality mean? It means being beyond the control of anything, including the universe itself. It means having your fate 100% in your own hands. A blueprint for the future was gradually taking shape in his mind, not just for Phelan Planet but also for the Douluo Divine Realm. To truly protect the things he had to break free from all constraints. He had no certainty of success, but he had to try. In this life, aside from finding his wife, he had also found the answers to many things that he hadn't figured out before. He felt that this was good. Understanding these things had improved his state of mind immensely, because now he could see the path ahead. Though it would be difficult, at least the direction was clear. Tang San sat directly on the beach and took out a book from his storage ring. It was one of the prizes he and Mei Gongzi had won after becoming champions of the Ancestral Court Elite competition. The other prizes had been used a while back, one way or another. Only this book remained in his possession. He had since taken it apart for research and then restored it. There were 3 main conditions if he wanted to create cultivation methods for humans. First, they had to be compatible with the natural abilities of humans. Second, they had to be compatible with the energy available on this planet and the laws of the plane. Third, they had to allow humans to reach the 12th order. Without emperor-level cultivation, everything was meaningless. No matter how many great kings humanity produced, they could not fight off 15 demon and nymph emperors. When he received this book, Tang San already had some ideas in mind, which were further developed through research. Now it was time to resume that research. A faint smile appeared on his face, and a subtle divine light glimmered in his eyes. He slowly opened the book and infused his energy into it, observing the phenomena it triggered. At the same time, he started absorbing faith energy from the endless blue sea, entering a state of deep meditation right there on the beach. The first thing Mei Gongzi did was look for her adoptive mother, and when she saw Luo Qingzhu, she couldn't help but be startled. In Mei Gongzi's impression, The queen consort had always been very serious, even harsh. As a child, she had never once seen the shadow of a smile on this woman's face. Luo Qingzhu had always struck her as rigid, stern, and even filled with disdain towards her. It wasn't until later, when misunderstandings were cleared and she became the lord of Kali City, that Luo Qingzhu looked at her somewhat differently. After Mei Gongzi accepted her as her adoptive mother, at least the resentment was gone, and there was even a hint of acceptance. But by then the peacock Great Demon King had already passed away, and Luo Qingzhu seemed like nothing more than an empty shell, devoid of any emotion. But today when she saw Luo Qingzhu again, the first thing Mei Gongzi noticed was a blush on her face. Yes, a blush. She looked bright, rosy, healthy, and even a bit shy. She seemed noticeably more vibrant, like a tender sprout nurtured by rain and dew, full of vitality. Hey, what happened to you? Mei Gongzi rubbed her eyes and looked at her again, just to make sure she wasn't seeing things. Luo Qingzhu said irritably, "What do you mean, what happened to me? You didn't even call me mother." "I know I'm just your adoptive mother, but still. I've been working my tail off every day helping you manage your city," Mei Gongzi quickly replied. "Thank you for all your hard work, mother." Luo Qingzhu smiled. "That's more like it. By the way, why is your face a bit red? Did that boy bully you?" As she said this, Mei Gongzi's face turned even redder and she retorted, "Your face is a bit red too. What happened to you? Did father bully you?" Luo Qingzhu shot her a glare and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? You're back, so start doing your job and let me have a break." Mei Gongzi immediately put on an innocent expression. "I can't do that, I don't know how. By the way, where is he?" Luo Qingzhu coughed, her cheeks flushing again, and said, "I've infused him with bloodline essence, and he's in seclusion absorbing it now." Mei Gongzi was taken aback. Shao He had previously said he wanted to explore the talents Tang San could provide to humanity. So why had he chosen the Peacock Demon Clan's essence again? Of course, Luo Qingzhu wouldn't tell her that she had practically beaten him into agreement. Making him act according to her plans rather than the other way around felt pretty good, actually. And over the past 10 days, she had regained the feeling she had when she first met the Peacock Great Demon King, and fell in love with him. Although he now called himself Shao He and he was a human, his heart and memories were still the same. Luo Qingzhu had accepted his human identity, not that she could do anything about it, and their love had rekindled. But first and foremost, she wanted to get him back to his former level. Although he had to start his cultivation anew, Shao He's human body had exceptional talent and fused well with the bloodline. Because of this, Luo Qingzhu was confident that she could help him return to his peak in the near future. If anything, now that he had her bloodline instead of his old one, he could even reach for greater heights. Mei Gongzi smiled and said, "That's good. All things considered, he's still most familiar with space." Luo Qingzhu changed the topic. "Anyway, that's a matter for later. How are things over at the sea? I didn't expect you to come back so soon." She was naturally aware of the human migration but hadn't made too many comments about it. Over the past few days she had asked Shao He a lot, and his response was simple. Now he was also human, so he would contribute to the cause. "Everything is going well over there. We'll continue the migration, but we'll do it in secret. Only there can humans have their own space to survive, at least without being enslaved." Luo Qingzhu sighed and said, "You must be careful about this. Don't get too involved, let Tang San handle it. After all, your goal is to become an emperor. Only when you reclaim the title of Peacock Demon Emperor can our clan and Kali City truly stabilize. Now that your father is back, we will do our best to manage the affairs of Kali City, but your main focus should be on advancing your cultivation. I heard from your father that you've become a great demon king in a short time, but the road ahead is still tough. You can't overlook the difficulties just because things have been smooth so far. Throughout history, countless great demon kings have emerged among demons and nymphs, but only a handful have ever become emperors. That crucial step is incredibly hard to take. Your progress has been too fast. You must accumulate a solid foundation. Becoming an emperor requires not just bloodline power, but the elevation of divine consciousness. Only when your divine consciousness reaches that level can your body undergo a complete transformation. You've advanced quickly, but you must focus on cultivating your divine consciousness. Both your father and I are lacking in this respect, and will never touch that threshold in this lifetime. Yes, I will do my best. Mei Gongzi agreed, but a strange feeling lingered in her heart. Was cultivating divine consciousness really that difficult? In just these past few days, being by Tang San's side and watching him bless the endless blue sea, her divine consciousness had caught up with her cultivation level. If anything, it felt easy. Even now that she was back, the Azura Sword's influence continued. As long as Tang San kept absorbing faith energy, she would also benefit from it. It seemed that cultivation didn't just require effort. Having a good husband was also key. Thinking of this, Mei Gongzi's face turned red. No, what husband? He's not my husband. When did I start to think of him like that? But last night we did sleep together after all. Why is your face red again? Little Mei, I have no objections to your relationship with Tang San. He is my great benefactor. He revived your father, and nothing is more important to me than that. But I must remind you, you cannot consider marriage before becoming an emperor, especially since he is human. If you marry him before ascending, your emperor ascension will absolutely not be approved. Oh, mother, what are you talking about? Who wants to marry him? Mei Gongzi's face flushed red, and she pouted. Luo Qingzhu chuckled knowingly and said, You haven't been my age yet, but I've been yours. Even if you yelled it from atop the palace, it wouldn't be any clearer. But remember your mom's advice. Now isn't the time to make things public. I know, Mei Gongzi replied shyly, lowering her head. Emperor, when would she become an emperor? Perhaps by then, he would already be an emperor. He was already at the 11th order now, and his advancement was faster than hers. Mei Gongzi suddenly felt a strange sensation. Ever since she met Tang San, it seemed like everything was changing, and it was for the better. At that moment, a voice suddenly came from outside. Grand Elder, an envoy has come from the ancestral court. Luo Qingzhu was taken aback. She exchanged a glance with Mei Gongzi, then turned toward the door and said, Please ask the envoy to wait for a few moments. Luo Qingzhu gave Mei Gongzi a questioning look. Why is the ancestral court sending someone now? Whether it was the Empyrean Dominion or the Solstice Empire, the main cities were largely autonomous, as most of them had the backing of an emperor. Each year, they only needed to pay a portion of their revenue to support the ancestral court, and the ancestral court generally did not interfere with the affairs of the main cities. This was why city lords were held in such high esteem. The ancestral court would not lightly send envoys to the main cities unless there was truly something important. When the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor came to Kali City looking for trouble, it was a rare exception. It took advantage of the fact that Kali City had no emperor, and even then he needed an official reason for the visit. Now Mei Gongzi had just been recognized by the ancestral court and officially became the new city lord. Yet the ancestral court had suddenly sent an envoy. Something was fishy. Mei Gongzi shook her head and said, I don't know why they're here either. I'll go meet them and find out what they're up to. Ever since witnessing Tang San's divine might over the endless blue sea, she had real confidence. She believed that even if an emperor came, they really might not be able to do anything to them as long as they were in the endless blue sea. Luo Qingzhu nodded slightly. All right, you go. You're the city lord, so it's more appropriate for you to meet them. If there are any problems, we'll discuss and resolve them later. Mei Gongzi adjusted her attire and instructed the attendants to bring the envoy to the main hall of the city lord's mansion. She followed shortly after. As she stepped into the hall, Mei Gongzi's expression turned icy, and an invisible aura of authority naturally emanated from her. The ancestral court had only sent 2 envoys, both of whom were at the Demon King level. One was a well-proportioned figure with a gentle aura, clearly a member of the Celestial Fox clan. Officially, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor was still the leader of the ancestral court, so this envoy most definitely represented him. The other envoy was tall and muscular, with thick and long arms, and exuding explosive power. His skin faintly glowed with a dark golden sheen that marked him as a behemoth. When Mei Gongzi arrived, both envoys stood up and bowed to her. Greetings, City Lord Mei. Mei Gongzi nodded in acknowledgement and said, Please have a seat, both of you. She then took the main seat herself. The 2 envoys sat down as well, and their expressions were very amicable. Mei Gongzi asked, May I know what orders the ancestral court has for me? The celestial fox envoy shook his head gently, smiled and said, We are not here to deliver orders from the ancestral court. Then what for? Mei Gongzi frowned slightly, unsure of what the ancestral court wanted from her this time. The behemoth envoy spoke in a gruff voice. City Lord Mei, it's to congratulate you on your official ascension to the position of City Lord. The Lord of our sky-splitting city intends to personally visit to offer his congratulations and extend a hand in friendship. We are here to inform you of the visit, and to tell you that we would like to build a bridge between our cities. Hearing this, Mei Gongzi was greatly surprised. The sky-splitting city lord was coming to Kali City? The Peacock Demon clan and the Behemoth clan had never had much contact. Moreover, during her ascension, the sky-splitting demon emperor had outright opposed her. The sky-splitting city lord was not the sky-splitting demon emperor himself but his youngest son, who was hailed as the next emperor of the Behemoth clan. It was said that he was already at the peak of the great demon king level, and had extraordinary strength among his peers. If the sky-splitting demon emperor were to fall due to age or other reasons, this individual would likely be the next to undergo emperor ascension. He could not be considered a member of the younger generation per se, but he was still young for a great demon king and in the prime of his power. After processing the information, Mei Gongzi asked the two envoys, Does the sky-splitting city lord have any important matters to discuss on this visit? According to the ancestral court's rules, city lords are not allowed to visit each other freely. The celestial fox envoy nodded. That is correct. The sky-splitting city lord first applied to the ancestral court council, and only after receiving approval did he plan this visit. We were sent ahead to inform you. As for the specifics, we don't know them. The sky-splitting city lord will explain in person when he arrives. Very well. I will await the sky-splitting city lord's arrival then. Both envoys stood up, and the celestial fox envoy said with a smile, My task on behalf of the ancestral court is complete. Brother Leguang here will stay in Kali City to assist with receiving the sky-splitting city lord. Mei Gongzi nodded. Thank you both for your efforts. The celestial fox envoy departed directly, returning to the ancestral court. The behemoth envoy, Tang Leguan, remained to communicate with the Peacock Demon clan. Visits between main cities on the demon continent were quite rare. Since both parties involved were city lords, and Sky-Splitting City held a prominent position in the Empyrean Dominion, this matter couldn't be taken lightly. Elders from the Peacock Demon clan were called to make sure the behemoth envoy was being taken care of properly. Returning to the inner hall, Mei Gongzi immediately sought out Luo Qingzhu and recounted the situation. Luo Qingzhu frowned. Our clan and the Behemoth clan have nothing to do with each other. What does the Sky-Splitting City Lord's sudden visit mean? And the Ancestral Court approved it? One of the core policies of the Ancestral Court is to ensure that main cities stay independent. They don't want close relationships between the cities, as it could undermine the Ancestral Court's authority. That's why emperors usually don't serve as city lords if they have a promising heir to do it for them. The sudden arrival of the Behemoth City Lord definitely has an important reason behind it, and it must be connected to the Ancestral Court. They're targeting you, though I'm not sure how and why. Mei Gongzi was also puzzled. What can they do against me? I don't quite understand. I passed my evaluation and I am the official city lord. Even the Ancestral Court can't act against me just because. Let's not waste time guessing here. When your father finishes his seclusion, we can ask him. He might have some insights. I'll also go ask Tang-san. He might have some ideas as well. But don't worry, it probably isn't anything too serious. Whatever was going on, she wasn't all that worried about it. After all, the White Tiger Demon Emperor had been supporting her anyway, and now both the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor and the Undying Demon Emperor supported her as well. And her new grandfather was no slouch. He was the strongest in the Empyrean Dominion, and having him on her side meant that even if the Sky-Splitting Demon Emperor came in person, he wouldn't dare to do anything to her. Out of 8 emperors in the Empyrean Dominion, 3 supported her outright, and 1 was certain not to fight against her. It could be said that her position was now absolutely rock solid. After saying goodbye to Luo Qingzhu, Mei Gongzi used the teleportation array to return to Crescent Island. However, as soon as she arrived, her face turned red again. She had just left and now she was back. What would he think? I'm here for business. It's not like I started missing you after half an hour. The teleportation array was set up by Tang San, and the endless blue sea was the domain of the sea god. As soon as Mei Gongzi teleported over, Tang San sensed it, and before the blush on her face had even faded, he appeared in front of her. Seeing him, Mei Gongzi's face flushed even more. Tang San opened his arms to her, smiling as if saying, "Come here. Don't mess around, I have something to discuss," said Mei Gongzi with a playful pout. Tang San took a step forward, pulling her into his arms. "What, am I stopping you from discussing things? I'm just holding you in my arms. What's the matter? Tell me." Mei Gongzi gave a token struggle before allowing him to hold her. The ancestral court suddenly sent envoys, saying that the sky-splitting city lord is coming to visit us in Kali City. I don't know what's their intention behind this, but he should be arriving soon, so we need to prepare. Do you happen to know what they could be up to? In an unusual display, Tang San was rather perplexed. He couldn't quite understand why the ancestral court would allow the sky-splitting city lord to visit Kali City. These two main cities had no inherent connections. If anything, they should be at odds. What did they tell you? Mei Gongzi recounted the situation in detail, concluding, "They basically said nothing of the specifics, just that the sky-splitting city lord is coming. We really don't understand what this is about. Is the ancestral court stirring up trouble again?" Tang San narrowed his eyes slightly. "I'm not sure what it is, but it's clear that the celestial fox demon emperor has come up with something new to keep you under control. But since you've passed your evaluation and your status is legitimate, he can't do anything too blatant. The sky-splitting city lord, the behemoth, what could they be up to? It doesn't matter. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. I'm not afraid of what they might do. If they really want to target Kali City, my grandfathers won't just stand by and let them bully me." Tang San shook his head. "You can't say that. The celestial fox demon emperor is no summer child. He's had the continent's fortune in his hand for 1,000 years. Last time we caught him off guard, but this time he is the one with the initiative, so there's no way he doesn't have some measure of confidence. For now, we can only speculate. It's better to wait until this sky-splitting city lord arrives and see how things unfold. In any case, the celestial fox demon emperor wouldn't expect us to be able to reach the ancestral court directly. He has no idea about the teleportation array. If anything goes wrong, you can always go to one of your grandfathers and complain to them." "Yes, that's what I'm thinking too."
Mei Gongzi nodded.
"By the way, where's your father? Why didn't you bring him along?" Mei Gongzi replied with a strange expression. "His wife, well, infused him with her bloodline. He initially said he wanted to see the abilities you were researching, but somehow he changed his mind. Now he's in seclusion, absorbing it." Tang San was taken aback for a moment, but then he chuckled. "Right. In other words, she changed his mind. Well, no matter. They love each other deeply, so naturally, she would want her husband to have the peacock demon bloodline still. It seems like their relationship has recovered quite well, and she doesn't mind your father's new human identity. This is good. Besides, the peacock transformation is definitely the most suitable for your father." Mei Gongzi nodded and said, "Yes, my father always complained about his innate talent. Now that he started over as a human with the peacock transformation, we'll see how far he can get. And I can tell that my adoptive mother is really happy. She looks radiant."
"I'm glad for her."
Tang San smiled gently. "That's the power of love. Just like when you're by my side, I feel no hesitation. You are my anchor, and no matter how heavy the storm is, I will not budge a single step." Mei Gongzi rolled her eyes at his cheesy lines, but the tighter hug showed that she still enjoyed the sentiment. "All right, I'll head back now. That behemoth envoy is still around, and I need to deal with him while making some preparations. After all, a visit from a city lord requires proper etiquette. We can't let anyone find fault with us." Tang San nodded and said, "All right. By the way, leave the celestial plume with me. I've made some progress in my recent research, and I might need to use its abilities." Mei Gongzi agreed without hesitation. "Okay." A silver light flashed and the celestial plume appeared in her hand. She handed it to Tang San. Tang San reached out to take it, but as soon as the celestial plume touched his hand, it seemed to sense something. It started to struggle slightly, as if it wanted to return to Meigongzi. The space around it distorted as the aura of the spacetime lighthouse enveloped the celestial plume, instantly calming it down. Tang San looked at Meigongzi and said seriously, "This is the Peacock Demon Clan's ancestral artifact, and it's certainly powerful, but predicting the future inevitably results in a backlash. While this artifact has brought benefits to the Peacock Demon Clan, it has also continuously cursed them. Peering into the future shouldn't be done casually, so I plan to make some adjustments to it. If nothing can be done, it may even need to be destroyed. I'll research this in the coming days. When you return, please discuss this with your parents. If they agree, I will proceed. If not, I hope to at least seal this artifact away for good. Otherwise, the Peacock Demon Clan will never escape the curse. They could just stop using it, but we both know they won't. The temptation is just too great." "All right. I'll let my father know," Meigongzi agreed. Over the next half-month, Tang San and Meigongzi were both busy. Tang San continued his cultivation while progressing in his research. There was still no movement from the Sea Giant clan, which clearly showed that fulfilling their promise was no easy task and required further preparations. Meanwhile, Meigongzi began preparations to receive the sky-splitting city lord. Kali City was bustling with activity. 7 days after Meigongzi returned to Kali City, Shaohe was teleported to Crescent Island. He had promised Tang San that he would help humanity to the best of his abilities, and he intended to keep his word. Now that he had received Luo Qingzhu's bloodline, Shaohe progressed rapidly in cultivation. Thanks to Tang San's transformative work on his body and his own familiarity with the peacock bloodline, his cultivation had risen directly to the third order after the bloodline fusion, and his cultivation was swift. His future prospects seemed rather excellent. Shaohe also brought Tang San a message. After discussing with Luo Qingzhu, they agreed to let Tang San handle the celestial plume. In fact, they were even willing to offer it to him. However, they asked Tang San to provide the Peacock Demon Clan with a similar item to safeguard their clan. Otherwise, they couldn't justify it to their own people. Tang San naturally agreed. For him, creating a divine artifact wasn't a difficult task. Now that he had reclaimed his position as the sea god, he had the abundant resources of the endless blue sea available to him. All he had to do was think of the most suitable one to make. As for the arrival of the sky-splitting city lord, Shaohe couldn't guess the exact purpose either, but he agreed with Tang San that it had to be some kind of plot aimed at Meigongzi. They would just respond as the situation unfolded. With the backing of 3 emperors, Kali City was no longer the drifting pile of duckweed it once was. Half a month later, the sky-splitting city's envoy finally arrived. At high noon in the distance, a flying carriage convoy could be seen rapidly approaching. Leading the convoy were large carriages, one pulled by 8 Pegasi and 2 by 4 Pegasi each, with the steeds fanning out in AV formation. Since the main passenger was not an emperor, he could not make use of celestial steeds. Apart from that, however, this formation was the highest level of ceremonial escort. Only the lord of a main city could make use of it, and only while on official business. On the Kali City side, preparations had long since been completed. 36 members of the Peacock Demon Clan revealed their true forms, flying in the sky with their tail feathers spread wide. Under the sunlight, they radiated a splendid glow. Outside the city gate, the streets had been washed clean, and a red carpet was laid out. Meigongzi, flanked by the elders of the Peacock Demon Clan, stood waiting outside the gate. When a city lord arrived, it was customary for the hosting city lord to greet them personally. The flying horse convoy, guided by the members of the Peacock Demon Clan, slowly descended outside the city gate. This was also part of the protocol. If the visitor was not an emperor, entering a main city without landing outside first was a clear provocation. Only emperors had the privilege to fly freely anywhere. The Behemoth clan's convoy clearly had no intention of offending the Peacock Demon Clan. They landed a kilometer from the city gate, and the flying horses retracted their wings as they pulled the carriages forward. Meigongzi stood at the center of the red carpet, waiting. The convoy halted 100 meters away, and one by one towering warriors of the Behemoth clan stepped out of their carriages. These behemoths were all demon kings or above. This much was evident from their physiques. Only demon king behemoths could shrink their bodies to around 3 meters in height. Otherwise, an adult behemoth would stand up to 20 meters tall, and no flying carriage could accommodate them. 16 demon kings and 4 great demon kings alighted from their carriages, lining up neatly at the front of the procession. Then, from the largest carriage in the center, one more figure descended. He was surrounded by the many demon kings and great demon kings as he made his way toward Mei Gongzi. This figure was tall for a human, but nevertheless appeared more human-like than the average behemoth. He stood around 2 meters tall, had short and spiky hair that looked like steel needles, and was dressed in dark gold luxurious robes. He looked to be 20-something in human years, and in general much like a fairly muscular human, with a harmonious and pleasant-looking physique. But even though he was nowhere near as big and muscular as the demon kings and great demon kings around him, his figure radiated terrifying power, as if a titanic beast rested deep within him. He was indeed handsome and masculine. He had a resolute face and his eyes were sharp and piercing. His strides were powerful, like the steps of a dragon or tiger. Though he was surrounded by the Behemoth clan's elite warriors, his presence was not diminished in the slightest. If anything, the contrast made him look even more imposing. On the Kali City side, Mei Gongzi stood at the forefront, flanked by 4 great demon king elders of the Peacock Demon clan. Luo Qingzhu was among them. She stood just half a step behind Mei Gongzi and a little to the side. In addition to the 4 great demon kings, there were also 16 demon king members of the Peacock Demon clan. Further back on either side stood 32 Lion Tiger clan warriors. Each of them stood over 2.5 meters tall, with burly builds that exuded powerful auras. Since their bloodline conflict was resolved, the Lion Tiger clan's overall strength had been steadily growing. Though these warriors were not yet demon kings, they were carefully selected Ninth Order elites from the clan, and with the strength of their first-tier bloodlines, they were no less intimidating than their behemoth counterparts. The sky-splitting city lord strode forward, while Mei Gongzi approached with measured steps, following the ceremonial protocol agreed upon by both sides. When they were about 5 meters apart, both sides stopped. The sky-splitting city lord nodded to Mei Gongzi in greeting. "City Lord Mei, you certainly live up to the rumors. Truly you are a peerless beauty." Donghua extends his respects. Mei Gongzi returned the gesture with a nod. "You flatter me, City Lord Jin. Please." She stepped aside to make way. Donghua nodded once more, then walked beside her, and they entered Kali City together. The entire process followed pre-arranged ceremonial protocols. Once the 2 city lords entered Kali City side by side, the greeting ceremony was over. Both parties then boarded their carriages again and headed toward the city lord's mansion. A welcome meal had been prepared, and Mei Gongzi hosted it personally. The meal consisted of rare delicacies from the Kali Mountains, paired with fine wines. Mei Gongzi refrained from drinking, but she still toasted Donghua 3 times to show her respect, thus completing the formalities of the reception. After the meal, the great demon kings and demon kings were escorted to rest, while the 2 city lords held their first discussion in the council hall. Each side kept only 1 great demon king with them. On Mei Gongzi's side, Luo Qingzhu accompanied her personally. Donghua was naturally accompanied by a behemoth great demon king. "I appreciate your generous hospitality, City Lord Mei. My visit is rather presumptuous and must have caused some inconvenience to Kali City," Donghua said warmly. At least on the surface, he didn't appear to be the leader of the fierce behemoth clan, but a pleasant young human. Indeed, he wasn't just the city lord but also the clan leader. The sky-splitting demon emperor didn't hold these positions himself, and instead left them to his youngest son, a testament to his deep trust. In the Behemoth clan, strength was revered even more than it usually was among demons, and Donghua was exceptionally powerful. In addition, he was also very intelligent, a rare combination. He had attained the positions of clan leader and city lord with little resistance. Even his older brothers had supported him. Naturally, he was truly highly regarded in the Empyrean Dominion. He was universally acknowledged as the future successor to the sky-splitting demon emperor, destined to become an emperor, not just with the potential but guaranteed to become one. "You're too kind," Mei Gongzi replied with a polite smile. "When the 2 envoys from the ancestral court came to inform me of your visit, I was quite surprised. After all, we haven't had the opportunity to meet before. It must have been tiring for you to travel all the way to our northeastern territory. Donghua looked at the stunning Mei Gongzi, recalling his father's instructions, and his smile deepened. Our behemoth clan has always been straightforward. I'll be direct about the purpose of my visit. If there is any offense, I ask for your forgiveness, City Lord Mei. Mei Gongzi remained composed and smiled as she replied, "You're too polite. Please go ahead." Donghua straightened up slightly and said, "I've heard from my father about your impressive performance during your evaluation. To be honest, it shocked me. When I underwent my own evaluation, I had to rely on the fact that my father is an emperor. But you gained recognition from the ancestral court entirely through your own power. Moreover, you are the fastest in history to advance from Demon King to Great Demon King in the ancestral court's records. Truly admirable. You flatter me. I've long heard of your reputation, City Lord Jin. You are a true role model for any demon." Donghua smiled. "I've come here to pay my respects to you, City Lord Mei, and to express my hope that Sky-Splitting City and Kali City can become allies. I also have some personal matters on which I'd like to ask your opinion." Mei Hongxi's curiosity was piqued. "This is the first time we meet, City Lord Jin. What personal matters might those be?" "City Lord Mei, since you've just become the lord of the main city, you may not be fully aware. The ancestral court has always been of the opinion that main city lords must produce descendants as quickly as possible to ensure their inheritance is passed down. This is crucial for the future development of our Empyrean dominion. In a sense, our inheritance can largely be described as a hereditary system, just like how you inherited the legacy of your father, the Peacock Great Demon King. But to the best of my knowledge, you do not have a partner, so I wonder if you have given any thought to finding a spouse." Mei Hongxi was stunned. She had fully expected Donghua to have some kind of ulterior motives, but she never imagined that he would say something. "A spouse?" She looked at him in confusion and said, "I don't understand what you mean, City Lord Jin." Donghua responded somewhat reservedly, My father witnessed your performance during your evaluation, and felt that you were an exceptional talent. You also happen to be unmarried, and so my clan wishes to establish a marriage alliance with yours. This would be beneficial for both the Behemoth clan and the Peacock Demon clan. This would allow Sky-Splitting City and Kali City to form a deep bond, and they would develop together in the future. The White Tiger Demon Emperor is your grandfather, and you have his protection. My father is the emperor of my clan, and I have his. In the future, we both have the potential to become emperors ourselves. Such an alliance would ensure us a prominent position within the ancestral court. Maybe the prominent position. Wait, hold on. Mei Gongzi's eyes were wide in disbelief. Are you saying that you came here to propose marriage to me? She could hardly believe her ears. Before today, the Peacock Demon clan and the Behemoth clan had almost no connection whatsoever. What had possessed this man that he was here with such a proposal? Donghua nodded seriously. That's exactly right. I am already married, but if you are willing, then you will naturally be my main wife. We can think of a future together, for our clans and our cities. Mei Gongzi took a deep breath and calmed herself down before replying in a calm yet firm tone. I'm afraid that's not possible. Today is the first time you and I have met. Marriage is a significant matter and can't be decided casually. You have traveled far to visit, and we will certainly treat you well, but this matter is putting me in a difficult position. Donghua shrugged casually. There's no rush. I'm merely making an informal proposal. Of course, it's our first meeting, and we don't know each other at all. But recently, Sky-Splitting City hasn't had much going on, so I'm willing to stay in Kali City for a while, spend time with you, and let you get to know me better. We can start as friends. If in the near future you think I'm a suitable match, we can take things further at that time. When the Sky-Splitting Demon Emperor told Donghua to come and propose marriage, Donghua was instinctively resistant. Among the Behemoth clan, he was not only a naturally gifted powerhouse but also a wise leader, which allowed him to surpass all his brothers and eventually become the clan leader. In Sky-Splitting City, he was the absolute favored son of heaven, and after a number of years at the helm, he had a firm grasp of Sky-Splitting City and the Behemoth clan. The Sky-Splitting Demon Emperor trusted him fully, and his word was law. Of course, as the favored son of the Behemoth clan, he had no problems finding a wife. As he had mentioned to Mei Gongzi, as the city lord and clan leader, inheritance was a significant matter, and he'd long since made his decision on the matter. However, pressured by his father's urging, he still came to visit. And when he saw Mei Gongzi for the first time, he was shocked. Before coming, he had just heard a couple of things about Mei Gongzi's talent and her performance during the evaluation. She was a human hybrid and she was not even 20 years old, yet she had become a city lord through her own power. And according to his father, she had already become a great demon king, the youngest great demon king in history. That was no small feat, even in the eyes of someone as exceptional as Donghua. But when he actually saw Mei Gongzi, what stunned him was her beauty. Mei Gongzi was a devastating beauty, plain and simple. Among the Behemoth clan, Donghua was the one who most resembled a human when in human form, even more so than his father. He also happened to favor human women, who were gentle and beautiful, a far cry from the ruggedness of female behemoths. And in Mei Gongzi, he saw all the qualities he admired in human women, moreover coupled with as high a noble status as anyone could have. His initially dismissive attitude instantly shifted. Conquering a woman like her was something that deeply thrilled him, not to mention the benefits it would bring to the Behemoth clan.